हेलो फ्रेंड्स, वेलकम बैक टू माय चैनल। तो आज की वीडियो में मैं इसका नेक्स्ट पार्ट लेके आ चुका हूं, तो बिना किसी देरी के चलिए शुरुआत करते हैं।
Chapter 63, The Tolerance of an Expert. Quote. A few days ago, my father was suddenly snatched away by a mysterious expert. I'm not doubting you, senior, I just wanted to ask if you have any news about my father. Han Chang's expression remained unchanged, but a cold smirk played in his heart. If you aren't doubting me, what the heck are you emphasizing it for? Isn't that just doubting me? However, this was inside the academy, and as a senior, he should be more lenient toward a junior. Once they left the academy later, hey, an 8th rank grandmaster wasn't someone a mere grade Doe master could question. Actually, my original intention in going out this time was to hunt a tier 7 magical beast. However, on the way back, I happened to run into two protectors from the Hall of Souls besieging the Cloud Mist sect. If anyone was most likely to make a move against your father during this period, it should be them. As he spoke, Han Cheng took out those two jade bottles and released two somewhat illusory soul entities. A cyan, illusory flame transformed into chains, entangling them. Protector Wu and Iron Protector, who had yet to figure out the situation, began begging for mercy the very first moment they saw Han Cheng. Don't make a move, I'll tell you everything I know. My lord, whatever questions you have, I will tell you everything I know. The feeling of lingering near death during this period had also broken Protector Wu's spirit. He wasn't afraid of Han Cheng finishing him off directly, he was terrified of this kind of periodic torture every few days, along with companions who hadn't been tortured yet. That damn thing was simply the hardest thing to endure. Which of you made a move against the head of the Xiao family in Wudin City? It was him. It was me. Protector Wu hurriedly nodded. It was me who made a move. Elder Zun issued a mission telling me to go to the Xiao family to look for a piece of jade. When I couldn't find it, I took that Xiao Yan's father away. This was all instructed by Elder Zun, I was just following orders. Alright, Junior Xiao Yan, you can ask him whatever questions you have. As he spoke, Han Cheng sent Protector Wu in front of Xiao Yan and pulled Iron Protector back once more. Looking at the red-eyed Xiao Yan, Han Cheng calmly took a sip of tea, casually found an excuse, and turned to leave. He couldn't be bothered to manage other people's business so much, unless extra money was added. A few minutes later, Han Cheng suddenly felt the green lotus core flame being triggered, and with a flash, he returned to the pavilion. Looking at Xiao Yan's somewhat red and swollen palms, Han Cheng helplessly shook his head and put away Protector Wu. After all, it was a soul entity at the Dozong level, so it couldn't be discarded casually. Junior Xiao Yan, why must you do this? Senior Han Cheng, can I ask you to help me save? Hey, stop right there, Junior Xiao Yan. A behemoth like the Hall of Souls is not something I can afford to provoke right now. That faction actually has. Han Cheng glanced at Xiao Zuner's gaze from the side and didn't say the words, Do Sheng. Xiao Zuner also tried to persuade him from the side. Brother Xiao Yan, don't make things difficult for Senior Han Cheng. The Hall of Souls is not something a single person can contend against. Junior Xiao Yan, actually, you don't need to worry about your father's safety. Their target should be that piece of jade. Before getting that piece of jade, they won't do anything to your father. What you need to do most right now is to quickly grow stronger. Han Cheng glanced at Xiao Yan and decided to fulfill his responsibility as a senior by guiding this little junior. What, his age was even smaller than Xiao Yan's? Hey, those who achieve mastery first are the seniors, do you understand? That's right, Brother Xiao Yan. Senior is right, before they get that piece of jade, Uncle Xiao will not be in danger. Xiao Zuner nodded from the side. She was very clear that the purpose of the Hall of Souls was precisely for that piece of jade, otherwise why would they capture a great Doe Master? Treat him like a rare animal and exhibit him inside the Han clan. Let them know what a great Doe Master looks like. The Xiao family's bloodline power was completely gone, not a single trace remained. You say, if you let a Dozong expert capture a great Doe Master, what deeper purpose could there be? Wasn't it just to use him as a bargaining chip? However, at this moment, Xiao Yan was deeply lost as someone inside the situation, not as clear-headed as an onlooker. That was true, after all. To Xiao Yan, Xiao Zhan was a real father and was very important. He didn't give up on him even during those 3 sunken years, instead cherishing this son even more. Thinking of this, Han Cheng involuntarily thought of his terminally ill self from his past life. From a rational standpoint, he should have been abandoned immediately so his parents could have another child. That would be the most correct choice. But from an emotional standpoint, the moment he was truly abandoned, he still couldn't calmly accept it now. Zuner, are you also doing this for that piece of jade? Xiao Yan's sudden question disrupted the thoughts of the two people. Xiao Zuner was somewhat at a loss, but she still shook her head. Brother Xiao Yan, Zuner, I'm begging you, can you stop lying to me and tell me the truth, okay? Junior Xiao Yan, whatever you two have to say, go back and say it slowly. I have no interest in listening to gossip. Han Cheng smiled and waved his hand, interrupting the two of them. Walking to the doorway, the two people stopped in their tracks. Xiao Yan let out a bitter laugh, lowered his head, and apologized to Han Cheng. Sorry, senior, Xiao Yan was impulsive today. If there was any offense, please forgive me, senior. Small matter, get the hell out of here, I still want to take a bath. Han Cheng scoldingly laughed. Xiao Yan smiled embarrassedly, took Xiao Zuner's hand, and turned to leave. Xiao Zuner turned her head to look at Han Cheng, giving him a grateful look. Han Cheng shook his head slightly, closed the door, stripped off his clothes, heated up the bathwater, and leisurely took a bath. That's comfortable. Closing his eyes, Han Cheng slowed his breathing and slowly submerged himself into the bathwater. Half an hour later, Han Cheng stood up, wiped his eyes first, then stepped out of the wooden bathtub and circulated his doqi to evaporate the excess moisture completely. Putting on a loose fur overcoat, Han Cheng lay down on the rocking chair in the courtyard, enjoying the twilight of the setting sun. Brother Xiao Yan, although Zuner has this mission on her, don't you understand Zuner's feelings yet? Returning to their residence, Xiao Zuner sincerely began explaining to Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan nodded embarrassedly at Zuner. I'm sorry, Zuner, it's my fault, I was too impulsive. It doesn't matter, as long as Brother Xiao Yan can understand Zuner, that's enough. Xiao Zuner revealed a happy smile. Zuner, can you tell me what kind of faction the Hall of Souls actually is? Why do both you and Senior Han Cheng have to keep it hidden? Xiao Yan changed the subject and asked curiously, looking at Xiao Zuner. The smile on Xiao Zuner's face paused for a moment, but she still shook her head and said, Brother Xiao Yan, you must believe that everything Zuner does is for your own good. The faction of the Hall of Souls is very powerful, and it's not as simple as it looks. Knowing too much right now will do you no good, Brother Xiao Yan. When Brother Xiao Yan breaks through to Do Huang, Zuner will tell you, okay. Xiao Yan still wanted to pursue the question, but the voice of Yao Lao rang out in his heart, so he didn't continue asking. After speaking a couple of sweet words, the two people returned to how they were before. Xiao Yan came to the sky-burning tea refining tower to cultivate, and he began to ask Yao Lao. Teacher, do you have any understanding of the Hall of Souls? Because the reason I've turned into this appearance today is precisely because of them. Chapter 64, Ji Yu Yuan's Generous Action. Chapter 64, Ji Yu Yuan's Generous Action. What, the Hall of Souls is truly damned. Xiao Yan gritted his teeth, the anger in his heart instantly surging up. Father, teacher, it's all because of this Hall of Souls. Brat, calm down. You are currently only a 6-star grade Do Master, and getting angry is useless. You only need to understand now that the protectors of the Hall of Souls are the weakest, yet they still possess the strength of the Dozong realm. Therefore, the most important thing you should do right now is to concentrate on cultivation. Yes, teacher, I understand. Moments later, Xiao Yan regained his reason, calmed down, inserted the fire energy card into the slot, and began cultivating. The moon set and the sun rose, a trace of purple light flashing past as Han Cheng stretched his body, adjusted his mindset, and started a new day. Han Cheng did not act immediately because Venerable Skyfire was currently slumbering to recover his soul power. Even if he got all the materials for resurrection now, he still had to wait for Venerable Skyfire to wake up. Otherwise, stirring up a huge commotion for no reason without being able to revive him immediately would result in losses outweighing the gains. Since that was the case, he might as well go to the magma world to cultivate. Those lizard men were top-tier tonics for the Green Lotus Core Flame. As the Green Lotus Core Flame improved, Han Cheng would also improve, because they were one and the same. Having made up his mind, just as Han Cheng was about to execute the Divine Fire Clone and spread his soul power, he saw someone arrive at the door. Junior sister Zuner, you came alone. Where's junior brother Xiao Yan? Senior Han Cheng, Zuner came over today specifically to thank you, senior. Quote. Han Cheng's expression remained normal, not letting Xiao Zuner in, emphasizing in his heart that this should be a normal plot and not a hentai. Since junior sister came alone, then I won't invite you in, right? Han Cheng gestured between the two of them, a lone man and a lone woman under a plum tree. Xiao Zuner nodded with a smile, the smile on her face growing even brighter. Senior is truly meticulous. Zuner actually envies senior's woman. Hee, if it was just those minor matters from yesterday, I didn't take them to heart, so junior sister needn't dwell on them. Han Cheng pondered in his heart that by tonight, he would teach the cultivation method of consuming moonlight essence to the black dragon. He had been using the black dragon quite smoothly lately, so he could give it some benefits. Zuner's father heard of senior's peerless elegance and greatly appreciates senior's potential, so he specially asked Zuner to give senior some help. As she spoke, Xiao Zuner handed Han Cheng a cyan storage ring. Han Cheng glanced at this cyan storage ring and narrowed his eyes. At a glance, this storage ring was clearly high-grade goods. Wasn't it just seeing that his talent was outstanding enough, so they wanted to invest in him? Han Cheng was clear on Xiao Zuner's meaning, and he wouldn't refuse this equivalent exchange. The current Han Cheng actually didn't truly have enough power to protect himself yet. Utilizing the ancient clan's power to develop and grow was not out of the question, and at worst, he would just help refine a few more 9th grade pills. 9th grade alchemist. Currently, throughout the entire Fighting Chi continent, there were probably only 5 people, right? Han Cheng took the cyan storage ring. There still lingered traces of an extremely powerful soul aura on it, far surpassing Han Cheng's soul power. Presumably, this should be Ji Yu Yuan's. Emperor Realm Soul was indeed terrifyingly powerful. Han Cheng controlled his soul power to enter and take a look at the contents inside the storage ring, involuntarily gasping a breath of cold air. Hiss, junior sister Zuner's father has truly made such a generous move, making it completely impossible to refuse. As long as senior likes it, Zuner will take her leave first. Hee, many thanks, junior sister. Han Cheng smiled and waved his hand. They were truly wealthy. No fewer than 100 high-grade medicinal ingredients capable of serving as the primary ingredients for grade 8 pills, a scroll of D-rank advanced Chi method, 3 scrolls of D-rank Do techniques, as well as the latter half of the Emperor Seal skill, 3 medicinal formulas for grade 8 pills, 5 medicinal formulas for grade 7 pills, some obscure medicinal formulas, and countless medicinal ingredients that could refine grade 6 and grade 7 pills. Needless to say, Han Cheng truly felt the foundation of a superfaction this time. He could be certain that for the ancient clan, this couldn't quite be called a drop in the ocean, but it could at least be considered a piece of meat from 9 cows, roughly 1,000th of their collection. Of course, it couldn't be ruled out that Han Cheng, this bumpkin, had shallow horizons and hadn't seen much of the world. Perhaps this didn't even amount to 1/10,000th of their collection. After all, they were an ancient clan that had been passed down for goodness knows how many tens of thousands of years, and they probably had dozens of warehouses storing medicinal ingredients for 9th grade pills. Han Cheng smiled and shook his head, feeling like a peasant guessing how an emperor farmed with a golden shovel. What is this? Han Cheng suddenly saw a letter, which seemed to be for him. Opening the letter, there was only a simple piece of paper filled with some nonsense written by Ji Yu Yuan. The meaning was very simple, which was, young man, I am very optimistic about you. I know that you, young man, come from a humble background, but your talent is peerless, so I decided to give you some help, work hard to keep growing stronger, and so on. There was also talk about letting him make friends with Xiao Zuner and communicating more, but Han Cheng didn't take it to heart and directly ignored it. Han Cheng calmed his emotions. Actually, there was nothing to get excited about, it was just obtaining an investment, and things would be much more convenient for him hereafter. For instance, the idea of refining grade 8 pills could also be put on the agenda. He would just cultivate according to his own plan. As for the matter of repaying gratitude, hey, what the ancient clan needed was the friendship of a 9th grade alchemist, not a grade 8 alchemist. Han Cheng transformed into a cyan flame and arrived at the magma world. Summoning the Green Lotus Core Flame, he fully absorbed the fire attribute energy. Through the refinement of the Green Lotus Core Flame, the energy Han Cheng received was the most pure, and his cultivation level was increasing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Time passed quickly, night fell, and Han Cheng left the magma world and arrived within the magical beast forest. By the pool in the Black Dragon's territory, Han Cheng sat atop the Black Dragon's head, recounting to it what he was going to do next. Black Dragon, I intend to pass on to you a cultivation method I created myself. Currently, only I and the Queen of the Snake People tribe have successfully cultivated it, and both of us have obtained immense benefits. However, I am not certain whether your current tier 6 peak cultivation can cultivate it, nor am I certain if there are any dangers. I think it is better to let you make this choice. You must weigh the pros and cons yourself. Han Cheng sat cross-legged atop the Black Dragon's head, speaking in a calm tone. Through their time spent together during this period, the Black Dragon understood Han Cheng's character. He was not the kind of petty person whose words did not match his inner thoughts, and whatever he said was what it was. Saying it let it choose meant letting it choose, absolutely not some farce of being voluntary. Sir, may I ask, if I successfully cultivate it, what benefits can I obtain? The black dragon was silent for a moment, unable to resist the temptation in its heart. Only by personally witnessing Han Cheng's self-created divine fire clone, a divine skill that allowed one to stand in an undefeated position, could one understand just how terrifying his talent was, and the cultivation method he spoke of was definitely not as simple as it sounded. Barring any accidents, if you successfully cultivate it, it should allow your bloodline to evolve. Chapter 65, The Black Dragon's Opportunity. Chapter 65, The Black Dragon's Opportunity. Evolution. The black dragon opened its lantern-sized eyes excitedly and said impatiently, "Sir, I want to learn. However, I am not sure if there will be unknown dangers, it might even threaten your life. Are you sure you want to learn?" "Master, I know you have my best interests at heart, but I do not regret it, Master." "Alright, since you have made up your mind, I will pass it on to you." Han Cheng patted the black dragon's large head and added, "Also, just call me sir." "Yes, sir." The black dragon pressed its large head against the ground and listened attentively to Han Cheng's teachings. Due to the connection of the master-servant contract, coupled with the guidance of Han Cheng's soul power, the black dragon quickly sensed the almost imperceptible moonlight fluctuations that Han Cheng had mentioned. Of course, it was also possible that the bloodline of this black-armored flood dragon beast was extraordinary. In short, in less than an hour, the black dragon learned the cultivation method of devouring moonlight essence. "I can feel it. My bloodline is evolving. Awu. Master, you are the greatest master of the black dragon. The black dragon will always be your most loyal servant." Bang. "I said, do not call me master, address me as sir, understand?" Han Cheng flicked his sleeves, almost forgetting his own peak 7th order physical body. "Yes, sir, I am just too excited." The black dragon shook its head. After receiving a lightning punch, it smiled even more happily. Magical beasts, although a collective term for countless magical beast races, were almost identical in their circumstances. Their advantages and disadvantages were very obvious. Besides their powerful physical bodies, there was also their own bloodline. Their bloodline limited their upper and lower limits. For example, the black-armored flood dragon beast had a 6th order bloodline, so it could easily reach the 6th order. Even if it consumed handfuls of medicinal pills to boost its cultivation during the growth process, its realm would not appear hollow, completely unaffected in combat power. But once the bloodline that helped them grow became a shackle to their continued strengthening, breaking through this limitation would be extremely difficult. The black-armored flood dragon beast broke through to the 6th order 100 years ago and had stayed at the peak of the 6th order for more than 80 years, without making the slightest progress during that time. That guy, how stifled it was extremely agonizing. A quarter of an hour later. "Alright, cultivate properly. I will guide you in your cultivation tonight, and from now on, you will cultivate on your own." Seeing that this guy had vented its emotions almost enough, Han Cheng told it to quiet down. This was only the first day. This fellow black dragon would have plenty of reasons to get excited in the future. "Yes, sir." The 100-jong-sized black dragon was as docile as a small black snake. Clearly, Han Cheng was not even as big as its eyes, yet it felt no rebellion whatsoever. The black dragon only wanted to say in its heart that once you had been stifled and motionless for 80 years, you would understand the greatness of the master. The process of devouring the moonlight essence went very smoothly. The black dragon felt its entire body was very comfortable, and the night passed quickly. "Black dragon, you must remember, after sunrise, stop your cultivation immediately. Otherwise, your soul will be ignited by the scorching sunlight. At that time, even if a duty were alive, no one could save you." Sir, I remember." The black dragon nodded earnestly. As long as it cultivated step by step, it could break through its bloodline shackles. Unless it was a fool, it would never take risks. What its master said was definitely right. The black dragon thought silently to itself that it would never foolishly go and try. Sir, well, I." Seeing that Han Cheng was about to leave, the black dragon grunted for a moment, making him stop in his tracks. Han Cheng looked at this guy with amusement. There must be something on its mind. "Stop dawdling, you are a male dragon, speak your mind." "Sir, actually I am a female dragon." Han Cheng shook his head with amusement and said, "So just say what is on your mind directly. Hurry up, I order you, speak." "Yes, sir." The black dragon nodded and said, "It is like this. Just now, some information appeared in my bloodline, seemingly a medicinal formula, so I want to ask sir to help me." "Hey, I thought it was some difficult matter. So it is like this. Let me see what kind of medicinal formula it is first." Han Cheng placed his hand on the black dragon's head, and through the contract, his soul power learned the medicinal formula the black dragon mentioned. There were a total of 3 sheets, one for each of the 6th, 7th, and grade 8 alchemist formulas. So it can even be done this way. Truly marvelous. Still, just a peak 6th tier medicinal pill, a peak 7th tier medicinal pill, and a peak grade 8 medicinal pill can allow a black armored flood dragon beast with only half flood dragon bloodline to transform into a true dragon. Han Cheng could not help exclaiming in admiration. Whoever could create this set of medicinal formulas was at least a 9th grade alchemist, or perhaps even the legendary emperor grade alchemist, or maybe even higher. Recovering his wits, Han Cheng looked at the black dragon, patted its large head, and said with a smile, "Rest assured, once I thoroughly comprehend these medicinal formulas, I will be able to refine them for you soon." "Sir, I am not in a rush, please take your time." The black dragon shook its large head and said obediently. Han Cheng smiled. Just 3 small medicinal pills could cultivate a true dragon. He was quite willing to try such an investment. However, that was only true for him. If it were an ordinary grade 8 alchemist, they might not necessarily be able to accomplish this in their lifetime. "Alright, cultivate properly. Remember what I said. Cultivate at night, and do not go looking for thrills during the day, understand?" "Yes, sir's teachings, the black dragon will keep them firmly in mind." Returning to the inner academy, Han Cheng still felt somewhat dreamlike. He had not expected that this small black armored flood dragon beast would obtain such an opportunity just by being taught a cultivation method by him. Oh, no, the black dragon's greatest opportunity should be him. Without him, the black dragon would never have felt this bloodline inheritance. Without him, even if it obtained the inheritance, it would not find an alchemist capable of refining these 3 types of medicinal pills. After all, it was only a tier 6 magical beast. The magic core of a tier 6 magical beast was an extremely good alchemy material. A tier 6 magical beast was an overlord in the magical beast forest, and its safety was guaranteed. But once it left the magical beast forest, that might not necessarily be the case. Having figured this out, Han Cheng praised himself a little, looked at the medicinal herbs he had, and pondered finding a good day to refine this first medicinal pill. However, before that, Han Cheng had to first impart this cultivation method to Ziyan. Throughout the entire process yesterday, the black dragon did not encounter a single danger and it went very smoothly. Han Cheng could tentatively conclude that for magical beasts cultivating this cultivation method, they had unique advantages and almost no danger. What a truly quiet and beautiful day. The first elder lay on a recliner basking in the sun, looking at the cloudless clear sky, feeling the coolness brought by the breeze, feeling indescribably at ease in his heart. Ever since Han Chang extracted the energy of the fallen heart flame, the previously restless fallen heart flame had also quieted down, and it would not recover for 20 or 30 years. That small one was also being cultivated by the elders using Doji. Everything was developing in a wonderful direction. This was truly a peaceful and wonderful. Rumble. Chapter 66 Secret Realm. Chapter 66 Secret Realm. A spatial fluctuation that only a Dozong could perceive came from afar, interrupting the great elder's leisure time. This is the fluctuation of a spatial lock. No, it's much stronger, far stronger. Could it be a secret realm? A cluster of cyan flames appeared out of thin air, and Han Chang appeared, holding Ziyan by the great elder's side. Great elder, you felt it too, right? Barring any accidents, a spatial secret realm should have opened. The great elder nodded, looking at Han Chang with a smile as he said, let's go join in the excitement this time too. The academy is very peaceful right now, it won't hurt to have one less old man. Alright, great elder, don't resist. I'll take you right over. As Han Chang spoke, he transformed into cyan flames, circled around the great elder, and directly crossed thousands of li, arriving at the place where the spatial fluctuations were most violent. This was the deepest part of the magical beast forest. For some unknown reason, within a radius of hundreds of li, there wasn't a single magical beast exceeding the 4th tier. It seemed that those more powerful beast kings and beast emperors had tacitly avoided this place. The entrance to the secret realm was located in a valley surrounded by peaks. 100-meter-tall towering trees blocked out the sunlight, making it exceptionally deep and gloomy. When the three of them arrived, seeing that the spatial turbulence of the secret realm before them had not yet stopped, Han Chang and the great elder decided to wait a moment. Anyway, no matter how many people came, the combat power of 2 Dozongs and 1 Do Huang expert meant they wouldn't fear anyone. What's more, Han Chang still had his trump card in hand. Good boy, this trick of yours is truly peerless. Crossing tens of millions of li in an instant, even a Dozun walking through space would take a few minutes, right? The great elder sighed with emotion. With such ultimate speed, even someone who controlled spatial power would find it hard to catch up. Moreover, looking at Han Chang's appearance, there wasn't the slightest sign of him catching his breath. Clearly, for him, this method could be used consecutively multiple times. Hey, it's alright. After all, venturing onto the continent, one always needs some ultimate life-saving tricks at the bottom of the box, right? Han Chang chuckled, feeling somewhat complacent in his heart. With this trick of his, if used 3 times consecutively, a Dozun expert would lose his target and wouldn't be able to find him at all. As expected of the Academy's pride, ha ha ha, the great elder laughed with gratification. How old was he, yet he already possessed such a magical method. In the future, he would inevitably become a titan of a faction. Ziyan looked back and forth around the area. Suddenly, she came before the entrance of the secret realm, sensed it for a moment, and ran over to Han Chang, saying proudly, Big brother, I think I can stabilize that space, but I won't be able to hold it for long. It won't cause you any harm, right? Don't push yourself. Han Chang looked at the violent spatial turbulence, then looked at Ziyan, who was merely a Do Huang, and in his heart, he didn't want to try it. That spatial turbulence was too violent, even a Dozong would get injured upon touching a tiny bit of it, and anyone below the Dozong dying from it wouldn't be strange at all. Rest assured, I'm very strong right now. Quote ellipsis quote. Han Chang fell slightly silent. This lass had made him take her out to cultivate for the entire night last night, and after awakening some abilities engraved in her bloodline, she had become boundless with arrogance. Alright, just make that thing stable for 1 second, and my speed is very fast. As Han Chang spoke, he took out a few healing medicinal pills and stuffed them into Ziyan's mouth. Rest assured, Ziyan bit her finger, and a drop of purplish blood bead floated before her. Guided by her bloodline memory, she rapidly condensed more than a dozen hand seals. The profound hand seals actually caused space to shake because of it. Under Ziyan's control, these hand seals pushed the blood bead right before the spatial turbulence. The originally violent spatial fluctuations instantly quieted down. A flash of pride crossed Ziyan's eyes. Cyan flames flashed, and taking advantage of the fleeting moment when the spatial turbulence was quiet, she was brought instantly into this spatial secret realm. It was as if time and space were misaligned. The violent spatial turbulence continued to run while the very next second, still incomparably fierce, and even a Dozun expert might not necessarily be able to charge indirectly. GHT now. After entering the secret realm, Ziyan spoke the remaining 3 words. Big brother, you're so fast. Quote. Han Chang was somewhat speechless. This lass really knew how to speak. Looking at the surrounding environment, Ziyan felt an inexplicable sense of familiarity. Let's go over there. Ziyan pointed in a direction, a trace of sorrow flashing through her large eyes. Suddenly, a large hand picked her up. It turned out to be Han Chang. Let's go, I'll take you flying. Han Chang smiled and tapped Ziyan's head, nodding at the great elder. In less than a distance of 100 li, Han Chang and the others arrived very quickly. Entering their sight was a massive mountain, at the base of which was a gigantic cave. However, this cave didn't seem to be naturally formed. Instead, it looked as though it had been excavated by some behemoth with immense power. The moment the 3 of them walked into the cave, they felt an oppressive might. Although it wasn't very strong, it still disrupted their breathing for a moment. Suddenly, a flash of purple light crossed Ziyan's eyes, and she involuntarily let out an angry roar. Ang. It was as if a mouse, regarded as a toy by a cat, had been provoked. After that angry roar, that mouse no longer dared to stir at all. I don't know why either. I just suddenly felt very angry. Ziyan touched her head, completely confused. Han Chang exchanged a glance with the great elder and didn't say anything. Han Chang patted Ziyan's head and continued walking forward. Before long, they walked to the end of the cave, and coming into view was a fearlessly gigantic magical beast mummified corpse. The flesh and blood essence within it was already gone, and only the oppressive might deep within its bones remained. At the top of the cave, there was also a mysterious container holding a cluster of things emitting a faint green light, filled with a vibrant and lively aura. What thing is that? It actually has such powerful vitality. The great elder looked at that cluster of green light in astonishment. With his knowledge, he actually couldn't tell the origin of this item. Han Chang glanced at this mummified magical beast corpse, and the guess in his heart instantly formed. This should be a heavenly demon phoenix, taken by that old dragon Zukun to supplement Ziyan's nutrition. And that Bodhi transformation saliva should be the same, similarly left behind for Ziyan by Zukun. After all, this kind of high-grade item shouldn't exist at all in this remote northwest continent, it could only have been brought over by Zukun. Without dawdling, they put away the mummified magical beast corpse and the mysterious item emitting green light, and the few of them took another walk around this secret realm. They discovered another abandoned herb garden containing quite a few precious medicinal herbs, though unfortunately their age was not high. However, they didn't have the intention of leaving them to continue growing. At worst, they would just be a bit careful when harvesting them and continue planting them back at the academy. but if they were left behind, they definitely wouldn't belong to them anymore. Fortunately, they had a senior alchemist on their side who not only had profound insights into alchemy but also understood quite a bit regarding the planting and harvesting of medicinal herbs. After expending some effort, they successfully packaged and took away all the valuable things inside the secret realm. Just like when they entered, Ziyan stabilized the spatial turbulence of this area for 1 second, and Han Cheng brought them quietly away from the secret realm. Only after they left did Mo Tianqing, the sect master of the Black Emperor sect, belatedly arrive with a large group of people. Ha ha ha, everyone pay attention and remain vigilant, this space has not stabilized yet, and we are the first batch to arrive. Chapter 67 Earth Demon Old Ghost. Chapter 67 Earth Demon Old Ghost. Returning to Jiangnan Academy, the first elder's mood was still quite thrilled. Following those two little fellows to act as master thieves for once, that feeling, tisk tisk tisk, was truly too exhilarating. Perhaps those who arrived later, after seeing the spatial turbulence, still thought they were the first batch to arrive, right? If they went in and found that someone had patronized it. First elder, should these medicinal herbs be planted in the inner academy? Just plant them in the alchemist department, old man Huo will take care of them. The first elder nodded, then seeing Han Cheng hand the cluster of green light to him, he hurriedly shook his head. Han Cheng, you should keep this item. This time, this old man just strolled around and didn't put in any effort. First elder, if you don't want this thing, then I'll give it to Ziyan. If this last can't hold back and accidentally eats it. Han Cheng smiled and stroked Ziyan's head beside him, saliva was already flowing from the corner of this lass's mouth. Ziyan hurriedly wiped the corner of her mouth and shook her head, saying, big brother, you should keep it. I feel like eating it now would be a bit of a waste. As soon as these words were spoken, both Han Cheng and the first elder were somewhat surprised. To think this lass actually had such great perseverance, could it be that she had really grown up? Why are you looking at me like that? I'm very smart now, this is clearly a good thing at a glance, so I won't just eat it casually. Ziyan proudly raised her head, revealing a proud expression. However, as Han Cheng's large hand stroked her head, she still closed her eyes with a smile. This is Bodhi transformation saliva. It is said that obtaining the Bodhi transformation saliva allows one to obtain the Bodhi heart, and thereby peek into the realm of the Doshang. Little friend is truly fortunate. Suddenly, Venerable Skyfire's figure emerged from the storage ring, clicking his tongue in wonder at the cluster of green viscous liquid in Han Cheng's hand. Hee, senior, you also said it was just said, whether it is true or false is still uncertain. Han Cheng gave a light chuckle, feeling that this item was truly somewhat superfluous to him. Too long. The time needed to use this Bodhi transformation saliva to break through to Doshang was too far away for him. With that amount of time, he would have broken through to Doshang long ago. After all, he kept quadruple speed running constantly. Although he hadn't spent much time in closed-door cultivation during this period, he wasn't far from a 5-star dozong either. Hearing about Doshang, the first elder shook his head even more. You should keep this thing, Han Cheng. If you become a Doshang, the faces of his people will also glow with honor. Seeing this, Han Cheng did not force it either. He would just keep it himself and give it to whoever needed it around him in the future. To tell the truth right now, they would only think he was young and vigorous and wouldn't take it seriously. Fine then. However, Senior Skyfire, how well has your esteemed self recovered? Do you still need to slumber? Hee, I've recovered pretty much. Many thanks, little friend. This old man truly owes you a huge favor. Venerable Skyfire said with a smile. From his soul body, which currently looked no different from a normal person, one could tell that his recovery was indeed quite good. Senior, prepare for resurrection next. This junior will strive to gather the items needed for Senior's resurrection within the next month. Ha ha ha, little friend is truly a man of his word. Venerable Skyfire laughed excitedly, looking at Han Cheng with increasingly amiable eyes. How long had it been? They had known each other for less than half a year, and he was already going to let him resurrect. It was just that this brat had good luck meeting me, Yao Tianmo, otherwise, he would probably have been scammed by quite a few people, right? It seems that after this old man is resurrected, I must pay more attention and not let such a good child be bullied by others. Demon Flame Valley, an old established faction of the Black Corner region, could be said to be a transcendent existence acting as a regional behemoth within this Black Corner region. Even against Jiangnan Academy, whose reputation spread throughout the Fighting Chi continent, Demon Flame Valley was not afraid in the slightest, and even specifically targeted the students of Jiangnan Academy. The reason why the people of Demon Flame Valley dared to do this was simply because of the existence of Demon Flame Valley's pillar of support, Earth Demon Old Ghost. Only today, Demon Flame Valley has repeatedly targeted my Jiangnan Academy. Do you really think my Jiangnan Academy is made of clay? After today, there will no longer be a Demon Flame Valley in this Black Corner region. The icy voice spread throughout the entire Demon Flame Valley. Such behavior was tantamount to a provocation against Demon Flame Valley. Audacious, which tired of living person is barking here, do you dare to step out? Demon Flame Valley's first elder, Fang Yan, was the first to fly out, his 9-star Do Huang peak aura shrouding a radius of dozens of li. But the next second, a cluster of cyan flames appeared out of thin air behind Fang Yan, yet Fang Yan didn't feel a thing about it. Until that arm burning with cyan flames pierced through Fang Yan's chest, burning his heart into nothingness, did he turn back in disbelief to see the fellow who had appeared behind him who knew when. How, possible? I said, after today, there will be no more Demon Flame Valley. Han Cheng casually threw Fang Yan's corpse onto the ground, looking at the group of experts from Demon Flame Valley flying up with a disdainful curl of his lip. Attack. Before his voice faded, 100 Zhang large black armored flood dragon beast flew over, followed by strong members of Jiangnan Academy's enforcement team behind it, launching an attack on the experts of Demon Flame Valley. At the same time, relying on his own realm's advantage and the unexpected nature of the divine fire clone, Han Cheng successfully wiped out many experts of Demon Flame Valley with thunderous momentum. Relying on its thick skin and tough flesh, the black dragon directly launched a charge into the crowd of Demon Flame Valley. Don't look at how the black dragon's defense seemed useless in front of Han Cheng. In reality, 90% of the Do Huang experts on the Fighting Chi continent could not ignore its defense. Enforcement Team Captain Wu Tinlong was a Do Huang expert, responsible for commanding the enforcement team members to kill those fish that slipped through the net. Watching that young man's invincible demeanor, Wu Tinlong was filled with infinite emotion for a moment, and he couldn't help but kill 2 bastards from Demon Flame Valley himself. Suddenly, an oppressive and icy aura permeated the entire Demon Flame Valley. A figure as shriveled as a skeleton, wearing a yellow robe, caused the surrounding space to ripple constantly with every breath he took. HMPH, a bunch of juniors from Jiangnan Academy, truly so bold as to dare offend this ancestor. Please, the 2 elders Qianbai, make your move. Seeing Earth Demon Old Ghost come out, Han Cheng did not hesitate and directly had the 2 elders Qianbai make a move. Since a favor was owed, it might as well be settled cleanly. Only to see the space in front of Han Cheng tremble slightly, and 2 gray, aged figures blocked in front of Han Cheng. Rest assured, merely an Earth Demon Old Ghost. Although he has broken through to the 7-star Dozong, in front of the two of us, his ending is already sealed. Earth Demon Old Ghost, you were originally from the same era as the headmaster. The headmaster broke through to the Dozun long ago and roams the mainland freely, yet you are now merely a 7-star Dozong, and you still act brazenly and blatantly target Jiannan Academy. You truly are courting death. Qian Yu, Bailey, Earth Demon Old Ghost widened his eyes, looking in disbelief at the two old fellows before him. To think they had both surpassed him. Impossible, absolutely impossible, you two old things aren't dead yet, how could you reach this stage? Hee, it doesn't matter if you don't believe it, we will let you see it clearly. Normally, a 7-star Dozong dealing with a 9-star Dozong would mostly end up defeated, but if a certain price was paid, escaping was still doable. Normally, a 7-star Dozong dealing with a 9-star Dozong would mostly end up defeated, but if a certain price was paid, escaping was still doable. It was just that the 9-star Dozong encountered by Earth Demon Old Ghost was unusual. He was an old monster at the peak of the Dozong stage who had lingered at this realm for decades, only a hair's breadth away from the Dozun. Moreover, it was a 2-on-1 fight, so the ending of Earth Demon Old Ghost was already sealed. However, an uninjured 7-star Dozong fighting for their life was still not easy to deal with. Looking at the slight ice shards on the two elders Qianbai, Han Cheng also understood that taking down Earth Demon Old Ghost was not as easy as it looked. The two elders Qianbai, are you alright? Han Cheng took out 2 bottles of healing medicine and looked at the two of them somewhat nervously. No harm done, hee, that old fellow Earth Demon Old Ghost has some skills, but the two of us are no pushovers either. Phew, that's good. Later, I must ask the two elders to help kill another person. Oh, could there be another dangerous person in the Black Corner region like Earth Demon Old Ghost? The two elders looked at Han Cheng in surprise. No, that is just a Do Huang peak, but he has a strange fire. Han Cheng explained his purpose. I still need another strange fire in order to resurrect Venerable Skyfire. Oh, there is actually a method to bring people back from the dead. This old man must broaden his horizons. Not bad, not bad. Little friend truly has extraordinary methods. Upon hearing that Han Cheng could actually truly resurrect a soul body, the two elders Qianbai temporarily cast aside their pride. Wasn't it just Han Feng? Deal with him. Moreover, that was a Dozun expert. If they could receive a couple of pointers, perhaps they could cross that thread of separation and become venerables. With the help of the two elders Qianbai, Han Cheng quickly completed the looting of the spoils of war from Demon Flame Valley. On his way back, he made a trip to Maple City and casually slaughtered Han Feng. The entire process went ridiculously smoothly, completely lacking the appearance a novel should have, with not a single accident occurring. But in fact, Han Cheng brought along 2 power levelers who surpassed the current version. If any accidents could still happen, that would truly be abnormal. Returning to the inner academy, Han Cheng first came to the magma world to try and control Han Feng's sea heart flame. As for Han Feng, apologies, under Han Cheng's instructions, his soul had long been wiped out when the two elders Qianbai made their move, not even giving him a chance to detonate his strange fire. One can only say that a 9-star Do Huang peak facing a 9-star Dozong peak was just like a baby, unable to resist even a little bit. In the underground magma world, Han Cheng used one mind for 3 tasks. On this side, he comprehended and controlled the sea heart flame. On the other side, he refined the heavenly demon puppet, while simultaneously conceiving pill formulas suitable for the two elders Qianbai in his heart. Currently, on the Fighting Chi continent, there were no pills that directly allowed a Dozong peak to break through to Dozun, at least none circulating on the market. Things like the Yin-Yang mysterious dragon pill were completely meant for the protagonist to consume, relying purely on fighting hard, and could not be counted. The comprehension of the sea heart flame was completed first. With a thought from Han Cheng, the green lotus core flame currently calcining the heavenly demon puppet emitted wave-like fluctuations. Regarding the comprehension of the sea heart flame, Han Cheng still had some insights, but it was not suitable to try at present and required a lot of time. He could only suppress it temporarily and talk about it after helping Venerable Skyfire resurrect. Han Cheng quickly gave up on the pill side. He still did not know what that barrier between Dozun and Dozong actually was. After carefully sensing the power of a Dozun, he might have some ideas. 10 days later, the heavenly demon puppet was successfully refined. However, the materials Han Cheng used to refine the heavenly demon puppet this time were that old poisonous fellow Xie Baiyan, the soul of Protector Wu, and the 7th rank monster core collected by Earth Demon Old Ghost. It did not matter if the current strength of this heavenly demon puppet was a bit lacking. Although a small part of its skin was bronze-colored, Han Cheng was going to refine pills next, and it could completely absorb pill lightning to evolve. 3 days later, in the inner academy, on the stone platform, Han Cheng thought about it and decided to use the medicine cauldron left behind by the ancestor to refine the first 8th grade pill of their lineage. Bone marrow melting blood pill, creates flesh on bones, ranked at the peak of the 7th rank, and even capable of stepping into the ranks of the 8th grade, a legendary super spirit pill that could instantly save even a half-dead person as long as they still had a breath left. With Han Cheng's soul power, this bone marrow melting blood pill still had to be treated seriously. After all, it was his first time refining a pill of this level. Those who want to watch your senior Han Cheng refine medicine can stay here and watch, and those who don't want to can go do whatever you want. Don't go over and cause trouble, otherwise this old man will not be polite. All of you, sit here and watch carefully. Open your eyes wide, and whoever dares to slack off, don't blame this old man for expelling you from the alchemist department. The first elder and fire elder, 2 Dozong experts, were fully prepared and treated Han Cheng's pill refinement this time with exceptional seriousness. Simply because, Han Cheng had previously mentioned to them the grade of the pill to be refined this time. This was an advanced pill unprecedented in Jiannan Academy, how could they not treat it seriously? If word of this got out, that their Jiannan Academy cultivated a grade 8 alchemist, how much face would that bring? Although Han Cheng's talent was very powerful, this kid could completely be considered one of their own in the academy, and they also had the confidence to speak of it. That old fellow the dean, knowing that we have cultivated a grade 8 alchemist, wouldn't he obediently abdicate and yield his position? Hee, not bad, at least we are also the vice dean. Before Han Cheng even started, the first elder and fire elder still had the mood to gather together and crack jokes. In the distance, the 2 elders Qianbai were also quietly watching this side. As night fell and the moon climbed into the sky, Han Cheng moved. The medicine cauldron left behind by the founder landed on the stone platform, and the green lotus core flame, according to Han Cheng's will, transformed into a cyan flood dragon, coiled within the medicine cauldron. Countless medicinal herbs poured into the medicine cauldron like flowing water. Under the control of Han Cheng's powerful soul power, the flames inside the same medicine cauldron unexpectedly presented different temperatures. Large handfuls of auxiliary medicine essences were completely extracted, turning into medicinal powder or medicinal liquid. Under the spiritual realm soul power, these extracted medicinal herb essences were all tainted with a trace of spirituality. This was also why the Xinlian pill could allow a Dozong expert to raise their cultivation by 2 stars. It was simply because the same pill refined by a grade 8 alchemist using spiritual realm soul power was vastly superior in quality compared to one refined by a 7th rank alchemist. The next step was to refine the main ingredients. The 10,000-year green spirit vine was a high-grade medicinal material Han Cheng exchanged for with that break-sec pill. Although the investment given by Ji Yuan also had several portions of the 10,000-year green spirit vine, Han Cheng still wanted to use this portion with special significance. Although it had the instinct of self-protection, in front of Han Cheng's green lotus core flame, it only persisted for less than 2 hours before transforming into a clump of emerald green liquid, floating above the green lotus core flame. In the blink of an eye, 2.5 days passed. That kid's green lotus core flame is so powerful, this old man's bone-chilling flame actually has a bit of dread towards it. Tisk tisk tisk, it's really strange, the green lotus core flame is only ranked 19th on the strange fire ranking list. Having cultivated in closed-door seclusion for just a few days, Xiaoyan's fire energy was used up, so he could only come out first to withdraw fire energy from Pan Gate's account. As soon as he came out, Yao Lao noticed the commotion over there. Chapter 69, 5 Colors. Chapter 69, 5 Colors. Han Cheng had already finished refining the essence of all the medicinal materials. Inside the medicinal cauldron, there were only 3 clusters of essential medicinal powder or liquid. This was the most crucial part of this alchemy session. The slightest mishap would mean all previous efforts were wasted. Although Han Cheng's soul power was immense, after all, this was his first time, so his movements were still very careful and cautious. With a thought, the green lotus core flame swept up the essences of the 3 medicinal materials. It had to be said that the spiritualized green lotus core flame was indeed Han Cheng's great helper in every aspect. Whether in combat, cultivation, or alchemy now, it made things much easier for Han Cheng. In less than 8 days, Han Cheng had completed the fusion of the medicinal material essences. Inside the medicinal cauldron, a rugged prototype of a pill had already appeared. However, to truly form the pill, it still required a period of nurturing. Has it reached that step already? What a monster, he probably isn't even inferior to those people now. Yao Lao sighed inwardly for a moment. Looking at his current disciple, a flash of loss surfaced in his heart, but he quickly returned to his normal composure. Little fellow, are you sure you still want to keep watching? MN, teacher, I want to see Senior Han Cheng's true level. With teacher here, I have confidence that I will definitely catch up to Senior. Xiaoyan stopped in his tracks, his gaze burning as he looked at the small yet majestic cyan figure on the stone platform. Another 2 days passed, and moonlight descended. Han Cheng suddenly opened his eyes, his palm gently touching the medicinal cauldron, while a cyan lotus flashed within his pupils. Open. The medicinal cauldron lid was pushed off. The energy fluctuations inside the medicinal cauldron frantically crashed against the inner walls of the cauldron, and the clanging sound of metal was deafening. The green lotus core flame transformed into a cyan flood dragon that roared towards the sky, coiling around a cyan pillar that soared straight into the clouds. The scorching cyan firelight was exceptionally dazzling under the night sky. The tyrannical energy fluctuations were clearly visible within a radius of 100 miles. If not for the special spatial restriction on this stone platform, the surrounding space would likely have trembled. This fluctuation, it must be an 8th grade pill. Among the onlookers were also knowledgeable old monsters, such as the 2 elders Jianbai, Yao Lao, and others, as well as the little princess of the Jiyu clan. They all saw that mysterious mist was rising above the end of the fire pillar. In the blink of an eye, a cyan and silver-colored thundercloud had surged forth. However, this was not the end. The thundercloud continued to churn, and in the blink of an eye, a red thundercloud appeared as well. Soon, a golden light bloomed in the night sky, exceptionally bright and sparkling. Such a young grade 8 alchemist grandmaster, Jiangnan Academy has really made a huge profit this time. Yao Lao sighed in amazement inwardly. In a few years at most, this little fellow would likely catch up to him. Xiaoyan clenched his fists, looking at the 4-colored thundercloud in the night sky with a surge of yearning in his heart. A real man should be just like this. Just when everyone thought the thundercloud wouldn't undergo any new changes, a trace of purple abruptly squeezed its way out. Instantly, everyone's breathing became a bit heavier once more. An 8th grade pill could be called a living being because of its spirituality, which was also the reason for the transcendent status of a grade 8 alchemist. Furthermore, the quality of an 8th grade pill was closely related to the color of the thundercloud when it was born. The more colors the thundercloud had, the higher the quality. A pill with a 5-colored thundercloud like the one Han Cheng was refining now was also extremely rare among grade 8 alchemists. Ordinary veteran grade 8 alchemists might not even be able to achieve it. Only. The pill lightning of this 5-colored thundercloud pill is something ordinary Dozun powerhouses wouldn't dare to take lightly. This kid has really gone too big this time. Yao Lao felt somewhat regretful. If such a good pill were to be destroyed just like that, it would truly be a great pity. Hearing teacher's words, Xiaoyan looked toward that direction with an even more focused gaze, while a hint of gloating actually flashed through his heart. The 2 elders Jianbai in the distance were already prepared to make a move at any time. Once Han Cheng could no longer hold on, the 2 of them joining forces could still block it. An 8th grade 5-color pill, such a high-quality pill was the first time the 2 of them had ever seen one. They couldn't just let it be destroyed like this. It's about time. I don't have much experience for the first time, but it should be enough. Han Cheng released the heavenly demon puppet, should say the earth demon puppet, which only possessed the power of a 2-star dozong. To receive this level of pill lightning on the very first time, you must put up a good show. With a hint of anticipation in his heart and a thought, he controlled the earth demon puppet to meet the first bolt of pill lightning. Seeing this, the pill lightning carried immense might as it fiercely smashed toward the pill inside the medicinal cauldron, yet the earth demon puppet's extremely tiny figure foolishly rushed forward to meet it head-on. Rumble. After a massive crash of thunder, the earth demon puppet was unsurprisingly blasted down to the ground by the pill lightning. However, it was not destroyed. Instead, it absorbed the power of the lightning and continuously improved. Another bolt of pill lightning struck down. Under Han Cheng's command, the earth demon puppet met it once more, only to be blasted to the ground again, its aura increasing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Repeating this cycle, under the continuous bombardment of the pill lightning, not only did the earth demon puppet suffer no damage at all, but its strength was actually rapidly increasing. Not bad. It seems the refining method of this heavenly demon puppet can be left to the alchemist department. Watching the earth demon puppet's aura finally stop at around the 7-star dozong level, Han Cheng nodded in satisfaction. It seemed that the information written in the original book was indeed true and without discrepancy. Swish. A white light flew out from the medicinal cauldron, but the next second, it was caught by Han Cheng. A pitiful little fish looked at Han Cheng, seemingly wanting to beg Han Cheng to let it go. But Han Cheng had no mercy for a pill. With a thought, the big shark that had just tried to flip its face turned into a white pill the size of a dragon's eye, falling into Han Cheng's hand. Is this a grade 8 alchemist? Several thousand burning gazes looked toward that cyan figure. The rich medicinal aroma allowed even those great dough masters and doelings to smell it and feel as though they were about to break through their realms. From this, the extraordinary nature of an 8th grade pill could be seen. The 2 elders Jianbai looked at each other, seeing relief and pleasant surprise in each other's eyes. What a lucky kid, to actually have a puppet that can grow by absorbing the power of heavenly thunder. It can be said to be the best helper for an alchemist. Yao Lao also felt a wave of envy towards this kid's good fortune. This was the first time he had ever seen such a thing. Alright, little fellow, it seems your pressure is a bit high. Hee, don't get scared. MN, teacher, I won't get scared. Xiaoyan firmed up his mindset, wiping away that inexplicable trace of loss in his heart. The crowd gradually dispersed, but these students still found it hard to forget that spectacular scene just now, which truly left them yearning for it. Especially those geniuses on the inner academy's strong ranking list, seeing Han Cheng, a classmate even younger than them, already reach that step, they realized he was completely no longer people of the same world as them. A grade 8 alchemist grandmaster, a big figure whom even Dozun powerhouses needed to treat with courtesy, whereas they were currently only at the peak of 9-star Doling, still single-mindedly wanting to break through to Do Wang. The gap was simply too huge. Even though they had known about the gap between themselves and Han Cheng as early as a year ago, seeing him still able to progress so quickly now, they still felt somewhat defeated. While others were making rapid progress at high realms, they were dabbling at low realms. With such a comparison, they naturally felt terrible inside. While others were making rapid progress at high realms, they were dabbling at low realms. With such a comparison, they naturally felt terrible inside. However, fortunately, they were classmates. With such an exceptionally outstanding classmate, they would have something to brag about after graduation. I am classmates with a grade 8 alchemist. On the other side, Han Cheng successfully refined an 8th grade pill and immediately began the resurrection process for Venerable Skyfire. Little friend, do you not need to rest for a moment? Senior, rest assured, I am not very tired yet. Would it not be better to resurrect you earlier? Hee, then I will trouble you, little friend. Senior, remember the key points I told you earlier. You must hold on. Rest assured, little friend. This ghostly appearance of mine is something I have had enough of. In the magma world, Han Cheng began the process of resurrecting Venerable Skyfire. With the two elders Tianbai helping to protect him during this period, there was no need to worry about safety. Under Han Cheng's control, 3 strange fires simultaneously began to burn the body of Earth Demon Old Ghost. Han Cheng thought about it and melted the skeleton of Venerable Skyfire into the corpse of Earth Demon Old Ghost. Although Venerable Skyfire was watching from the side, it felt a bit strange. Senior Skyfire, a wisp of soul power. At the same time, Han Cheng threw the 8th grade pill in his hand to Venerable Skyfire. Seeing that Venerable Skyfire had consumed the pill, Han Cheng finally took out the essence blood and bone marrow of the tier 7 demonic beast he had hunted earlier and sprinkled it on the body of Earth Demon Old Ghost. The corpse of Earth Demon Old Ghost began to rot, but Han Cheng knew that this was a sign of success. After about half an hour, Earth Demon Old Ghost suddenly opened its eyes. Senior, right now. Venerable Skyfire, who had been waiting for a long time, transformed into a streak of white light and entered this body. Being burned by 3 strange fires, what kind of pain would that be? Fortunately, Venerable Skyfire was someone who had once subdued the fallen heart flame, so he could still endure the pain of rebirth through fire. In the blink of an eye, 3 days passed. The appearance of Earth Demon Old Ghost had vanished, replaced by features identical to Venerable Skyfire's soul body. At the same time, a concealed yet vast aura was brewing within this flame-burning body. 5 days later, Han Cheng's figure sat quietly on the stone platform for 2 days and 2 nights. After listening to Venerable Skyfire's personal insights regarding the Dozun realm, he gained some ideas for a pill to help Peak Dozong break through to Dozun. Now, he was using time acceleration to simulate and verify his thoughts. In the distance, Venerable Skyfire, dressed in white robes, sipped tea while looking at this young figure in amazement. Is this a true genius? No matter how many times I see it, it is astonishing. The feeling of having a physical body after resurrection was indescribably wonderful. Venerable Skyfire felt that his luck was truly good to have encountered such a monstrous talent. Not only was the resurrection successful, but his own cultivation also increased by 1 star. When he died, he was a 5-star Dozun, but now after resurrection, he had instead broken through to a 6-star Dozun. A burst of thunder clouds rose, and after a few simple bouts of pill lightning, the Earth Demon puppet was upgraded once again, and a fresh tier 7 high-grade pill was freshly baked. A few days later, another bout of pill lightning ended, the Earth Demon puppet upgraded, and another tier 7 high-grade pill came out. Little friend, the 2 of us owe you a favor this time. If you have any trouble in the future, just give the word. The moment they obtained these 2 pills, the 2 elders Tianbai felt their craving for them. Without a doubt, these 2 pills would be of great help to them. Seniors, you are too polite. I am a student of the academy after all, and I should thank the 2 seniors for being willing to help me test the medicine. Although Han Cheng was somewhat confident in his heart, he could not be certain that these 2 pills would definitely allow the 2 of them to break through. Hee, little friend is truly too modest. Even Dozun powerhouses would be willing to help a grade 8 alchemist test medicine. The 2 elders Tianbai exchanged glances, smiled and nodded, exchanged some heartfelt words with Han Cheng, and then went back into seclusion. A grade 8 grandmaster. If such a figure called out for someone to test medicine, there would probably be a large number of Dozong powerhouses fighting tooth and nail over it, and even some low-star Dozuns would cast their gazes upon it. If not for the connection of Jianan Academy, the 2 of them really might not have had this opportunity. Without rushing to rest, after refining the first tier 6 peak pill needed by the Black Dragon, Han Cheng once again began a long period of seclusion. However, this time, he was not alone. Instead, together with Venerable Skyfire, he hunted those lizardmen in the magma world to help the Green Lotus core flame grow. In the blink of an eye, 4 months passed. A cluster of cyan flames appeared out of thin air 1,000 meters away from the sky-burning chi refining tower. A somewhat disheveled Han Cheng and Venerable Skyfire looked at each other and smiled, then breathed a sigh of relief. Good grief, it was simply too terrifying. Those things actually included advanced Dozun beings. Fortunately, little friend, you have this trick of the Divine Fire clone. Otherwise, the 2 of us would probably have had to stay there today. Venerable Skyfire felt a wave of relief, and at the same time, his appreciation for the young man Han Cheng grew even stronger. This instantaneous displacement skill, on the fighting chi continent, below the Dosheng stage, who could possibly catch up? However, it was worth it. Having eaten so many lizardmen, many of which were at the Dozun level, the Green Lotus core flame has now grown to a limit. Truly, many thanks to Elder Yao. With a thought from Han Cheng, a cyan lotus flower acted as if it had a life of its own, continuously circling around him. Watching the Green Lotus core flame actively transform into a cyan flame lotus platform and letting Han Cheng step on it, Venerable Skyfire felt a wave of envy in his heart. With his attainments in fire control, he could be certain that throughout this process, Han Cheng did not exert the slightest bit of control, it was entirely the active behavior of the Green Lotus core flame. Venerable Skyfire looked again at the fallen heart flame inside his body, which was as cowardly as could be, and shook his head with a sigh. Actually, his situation was the normal one. Although a strange fire would not riot after being refined, it still required active effort to control, and it was absolutely impossible to achieve it like Han Cheng. The strange fire already possessed no low level of spiritual intelligence, yet it was still as obedient as a puppy, even trying to please him. Someone like Han Chang was completely abnormal. Who had ever heard of being able to make a strange fire continue growing after devouring it? Ranked 19th on the strange fire ranking list, the Green Lotus Core Flame's current might was probably stronger than many strange fires in the top 10. It is nothing to be able to see a strange fire that has already been refined continue to grow. This old man has already not suffered a loss. When you, Han Chang, reach the realm of a Dozun, you will understand that it does not matter even if you do not cultivate for a year or half a year. Beginning with Dozun powerhouses, it could be said that every star was a separate heaven. When one was at the Dozong realm, they could still fight across realms, but starting from the Dozun realm, if you could cross a star to fight an enemy, it would already be considered exceptional talent. Because the energy required for every star of Dozun was extremely massive. Especially after the 7-star Dozun, breaking through one star every 30 or 50 years was completely normal. Of course, this was speaking under normal cultivation conditions. If one had the help of a grade 8 alchemist, the progress of cultivation would naturally be a different matter entirely. Chapter 71. Ziyan's Ambition. Chapter 71. Ziyan's Ambition. Han Chang and Venerable Skyfire tacitly agreed not to bring up the matter of returning to the Magma World to cultivate. It was better not to go back and seek death for the time being. The lizard men, who were at the level of Dozun, even if they did not understand the power of space, were not something Venerable Skyfire could handle right now relying solely on pure strength. Han Chang was busy familiarizing himself with the Green Lotus Core Flame, which had seen a significant increase in its spirituality, while simultaneously exchanging insights on fire control with Venerable Skyfire. Indeed, in Venerable Skyfire's opinion, Han Chang's attainments in fire control were already no less than his own. When reviving him, Han Chang could easily control 3 types of heavenly flames, even though 2 of them had not been refined by him. Especially since the Green Lotus Core Flame had gained spirituality and remained completely submissive to Han Chang, his progress in this area was even greater. A few days later, Venerable Skyfire left Jianan Academy. This was mainly because Han Chang hardly encountered any danger here, and with his current cultivation level as a 7-star Dozong, he would face almost no danger in this northwest continent. Therefore, Venerable Skyfire and Han Chang agreed to meet again in a year. During this time, he intended to collect some medicinal herbs and, incidentally, see if his old friends were still around and how they were doing. Han Chang did not stop him. After all, Venerable Skyfire going out to make friends was, in fact, helping him build connections. Moreover, Venerable Skyfire was not his subordinate, so there was no need for him to be by his side at all times. Of course, some of the secrets Han Chang possessed were not suitable for others to know. Big brother, do you think we should participate in this year's strong ranking tournament? After a night of cultivation, Ziyan hung on to Han Chang, asking if he would participate in this year's strong ranking tournament. Hearing this, Han Chang felt a bit dazed for a moment. Had 2 years passed so quickly? He still remembered that 2 years ago, he was only a Do Huang, yet now, 2 years later, he had actually reached the level of a Dozong. I think I'll skip it. The effects of the fallen heart flame are completely useless for a Dozong now. You are only at the 6th rank, so it would be worth it for you to undergo the tempering of the origin heart flame once more. Then it's a bit embarrassing for me to participate alone, Ziyan sighed, feeling a bit emotional. However, her acting this way in the appearance of a little girl was exceptionally amusing, making Han Chang unable to stop himself from laughing. Ha ha ha, how old are you, little girl? You haven't taken less than your fair share of the Great Elder's tea leaves on a daily basis, so what is there to be embarrassed about? You are also a student. As long as you haven't graduated, you have the right to compete, and no one can say anything about it. Ziyan nodded, but inwardly she thought, I am actually older than all of you. You should be calling me big sister. However, I can't beat you right now. Once I become stronger, I will knock you unconscious, and then, tilde. Thump. A flick to the forehead snapped Ziyan out of her fantasies of a bright future. What are you thinking about? Why is your face all red? Han Chang asked, feeling a bit strange. Could this girl be hitting puberty? That shouldn't be it, right? Ziyan was still in her childhood form. And nothing, I was just missing big sister queen. Ziyan sighed, feeling that the day her fantasy would come true was still quite far off. I miss her too, but we can't hinder the queen while she is in seclusion breaking through to the Dozun level, can we? Han Chang had visited the Snake People tribe a short time ago and learned that the queen was currently in seclusion attempting to break through to the Dozun level, so they could only meet after she succeeded. Han Chang rubbed Ziyan's little head, feeling somewhat like a husband raising a child while missing his wife. Sigh, Big Black is also in the middle of advancing, there's no one left to play with me. Aren't there so many magical beasts in the magical beast forest? Why is there no one to play with you? Sigh, it's mainly because I'm too strong now. Apart from Big Black, those guys aren't willing to spar with me. Ziyan shook her head helplessly, wearing the expression of an expert lonely at the peak. However, looking at this girl's naive appearance while she made such an out-of-character expression, Han Chang couldn't help but want to laugh. Then you'll just have to wait for the Black Dragon to wake up. A 7th-rank Black Dragon should be able to let you fight to your heart's content. If you really can't wait, I can also spar with you. Oh my, wouldn't that be bad? Although she said it was bad, the girl had already jumped off Han Chang and started warming up. Seeing this, how could Han Chang not understand? The girl had been talking for so long just to wait for him to say those words. Very well, I will let you experience the loving education of your big brother. Big brother, for this match, we can only use physical strength, okay. Ziyan quickly added a rule. She knew how elusive Han Chang's divine fire clone was. Anyone whose soul power wasn't as strong as Han Chang's couldn't even touch him. If she didn't add restrictions, her little butt would be beaten to a pulp, and she might not even be able to land a single hit on Han Chang. Han Chang agreed to Ziyan's request and brought her into the magical beast forest, where they could let loose. Are you ready? I'm coming. A mischievous smile flashed across Ziyan's face as she launched a sneak attack on Han Chang. Han Chang rolled his eyes helplessly. This girl was truly mischievous. It seemed he would have to properly educate this girl who was in her rebellious phase today. Slap, slap, slap. A few minutes later, Han Chang looked at the big Ziyan lying across his lap, his hand still resting on the girl's backside. For a moment, the scene became awkward. Ziyan looked at Han Chang's dazed expression and felt a surge of triumph inside. Be mesmerized by this young lady's beauty. The next second, Han Chang's cold voice rang out. You are becoming more and more outrageous. It seems I need to increase the intensity. Ah, big brother, no. A few minutes later, Ziyan, having reverted to the appearance of a little girl, covered her bottom, her eyes red as she lay in Han Chang's arms. Big brother, you are too much. I was just joking with you. HMPH, what do you think I'm angry about? Han Chang glared at Ziyan and flicked her forehead. You know full well that doing that puts a lot of pressure on your own body, yet you still mess around without knowing your limits. I really want to beat you again. Big brother, I know I was wrong. Please don't hit me, okay? Ziyan looked at Han Chang with her big, watery eyes, looking pitiful, enough to melt anyone's heart. I won't hit you, I won't hit you. Stop pulling that act on me. Han Chang turned his face away. This girl was really getting better at playing the victim, and yet, he really had no resistance to this trick. Hee hee, I knew Big Brother was the best. A look of triumph flashed in Ziyan's eyes, and she laughed happily, no longer complaining about her butt hurting. That was true, as a dignified 6th-rank magical beast, how could she really cry so miserably? It was mostly just an act. On the way back, he took a look at the black dragon, which was still in the middle of advancing. Han Chang didn't disturb it, he strengthened the spatial barrier, gathered a wave of heaven and earth energy, and then left. Once someone dared to intrude, he would perceive it immediately. With the speed of his divine fire clone, he could arrive almost instantly, so he didn't need to guard the black dragon at all times. The main thing was that this fellow, the black dragon, had started advancing more than 3 months ago. It wasn't a matter of 10 or half a month, so Han Chang couldn't possibly watch it all the time. Moreover, the biennial strong ranking tournament was starting tomorrow, and Han Chang also wanted to see the excitement. Chapter 72 Courting Death. Chapter 72 Courting Death. It is just that, I do not know if it is because of Han Chang's influence, but the intensity of this year's strong ranking tournament is truly a bit too high. Figures with colorful doji wings landed among the students. This was the strength of the top few rankers on the strong ranking this year. Is the strong ranking tournament of the Inner Academy actually this intense? After cultivating bitterly for a year, Xiaoyan, who had broken through to Doling not long ago, watched those fellows dropping from the sky, his mouth twitching involuntarily. They were all geniuses, and a Doling fighting a Do Wong, the current Xiaoyan truly did not have much certainty. According to what Zuner knows, the top 10 of the Inner Academy's strong ranking previously were all 9-star Doling. Perhaps because of Han Chang and that mysterious expert, this session's strong ranking tournament is exceptionally intense. A trace of barely perceptible heat flashed through Xiao Zuner's eyes. Possessing a divine grade bloodline, she had already broken through to Do Wong not long ago. Seeing that there were actually Do Wong experts on the Inner Academy strong ranking, she also had somewhat of an urge to make a move. However, Big Brother Xiaoyan had just broken through to 1-star Doling recently. If she stood out too much, would it be bad? Suddenly, a wave of spatial fluctuation flashed and vanished as Han Chang brought Ziyan to appear among the students. Oh my, not bad at all. Have all of you fellows broken through to Do Wong? Han Chang patted Lu Qing on the shoulder and greeted several classmates. Damn it, you fellow must be taking revenge, right? Lu Qing gritted his teeth, feeling as though he had just been struck by a tier 5 magical beast. How could that be? This is just me greeting you normally. Hee hee, I'd have to be a fool to believe you. Lu Qing grinned, a smile actually appearing on his face. Still, I have to thank you. Otherwise, it would have taken us another 2 or 3 years to break through to Do Wong. Ah, it was just a matter of convenience, and I am also a student of the academy after all. As a senior, I naturally have to leave something behind for the younger juniors, right? Han Chang waved his hand with a smile. It was merely a tier 5 medicinal formula capable of accelerating a 9-star Doling's breakthrough to Do Wong. Good fellow, you make all of us look like trash. Right, are you guys not participating in this strong ranking tournament? Forget it, that heart flame body tempering is of no use to those above Do Wong anymore, so we will leave it to the others. Are you not still students right now? Why yield? Han Chang rubbed Ziyan's head. It seemed these fellows had developed a psychological burden after breaking through to Do Wong. However, Han Chang did not continue on this topic. Everyone was just classmates, and there was no need to interfere with their choices. A bunch of cowards. If you are scared, just say so outright. What is this talk about yielding or not yielding? Ziyan glanced at these fellows. Not a single one of them was capable of fighting. Hearing Ziyan's words, the few people beside her tacitly turned their heads away. That's right, they truly had chickened out. They were well aware of the gap between themselves and these two. They simply couldn't beat them. If they were to match up like this and their dignified Do Wong experts were punched straight into a wall, how embarrassing would that be? After all, young people still valued their face and pride quite a bit. Han Chang just smiled without speaking, only hoping that they wouldn't regret it later. When an easily obtainable benefit was right in front of them and they didn't seize the chance, there wouldn't be such a good opportunity in the future. Those stronger than you certainly wouldn't yield to you. Han Chang showed up for the first time on the first day, but since none of these classmates were participating, he didn't bother to watch either. That last Ziyan's matches were completely devoid of anything worth watching. It was just a matter of a single punch. He wasn't worried about whether Ziyan would lose. After all, she was a Do Wong expert. Returning to the cave where he often went into seclusion, Han Chang took out the sea heart flame that had previously been sealed by Venerable Skyfire using spatial power. Geez, I originally wanted to create a small trouble for you, but who would have thought it turned into an opportunity for you instead? Is this what being the protagonist is? Hee hee. Han Chang shook his head with a smile. Perhaps he simply wasn't cut out for doing bad things, failing to even consider other people's thoughts. They weren't tools for him to casually manipulate at will. Han Chang considered himself no gentleman who returned grievances with virtue. He was a normal person. If you treated him well, he would treat you twice as well. If you hated him, he wouldn't like you either. Of course, Han Chang also had flaws. He was a face-con who loved good-looking things and held extra tolerance for them. At the same time, he was also quite hypocritical. Even though he had said it didn't matter because of Xiaoyan's insolent remarks earlier, he still felt uncomfortable inside. It was just that his principles prevented him from acting against his true heart or doing anything overly outrageous. He could only exact his revenge through such indirect ways of helping others. As expected, I'm not any good thing. The ocean-like sea heart flame reflected Han Chang's face. He felt that he was somewhat comical, clearly caring deeply about certain things, yet unable to show it. What a pathetic fellow. Activating fourfold speed, he swallowed the sea heart flame in a single gulp. Han Chang decided to use the collision between the heavenly flames to cause his own death and sober himself up. He hadn't died in a long time, and his brain had become somewhat chaotic. As expected, he still needed to die frequently to maintain his sanity. The time acceleration deactivated. Having died once, Han Chang felt completely relaxed all over. In fact, this was a very simple matter. There was no need for him to complicate it. Why bother obsessing over those basenesses within human nature? Did taking out the medicinal formula help the students of Jianan Academy? Did he let his classmates obtain more benefits? Was that right or wrong? There was nothing wrong with any of this. What else was there for him to agonize over? With his rationality back online, Han Chang quickly cast aside these unimportant things. He was an 8th grade grandmaster and a 7-star Dozong after all. What he should be doing right now was breaking through to Dozun, and there was no need to waste too much thought on these matters. As expected, humans are not machines and cannot precisely maintain their own state. Making some foolish behaviors every once in a while is truly nothing more normal. Perhaps I should also die once every period of time, only thus can I ensure that my wisdom does not disappear. Han Chang suddenly understood why semi-datization was sought after by so many people, and why those players with panels were able to defeat bosses far stronger than themselves. Because their various data points would not fluctuate due to their own emotions, and their strength would be maintained at a very stable baseline. Han Chang, who had just been in a state of confusion, would definitely have had a strength significantly lower than average unless he could maintain his sanity the entire time. But he didn't have those player panels, semi-datization, or similar things, so he could only take a different path and use his chi to commit suicide frequently, ensuring that he would not become confused. Because, only by infinitely approaching death could one comprehend the true meaning of survival. Now, having died once, Han Chang's rationality returned once more as he began his attempt to integrate the Sea Heart Flame into himself. Although on the Fighting Chi continent, if two heavenly flames were simultaneously integrated into a person's body, a terrifying backlash would occur that even Dozun experts would not dare to endure, and the rule that a person could only devour one heavenly flame had almost become an unspoken law. However, that was merely due to other people's superficial application of heavenly flames and their insufficient strength. Take Xiao Zhan for example, with a strength reaching the 9-star Do Sheng realm, he could forcefully suppress the backlash of 3 heavenly flames. Chapter 73, Carrying Mountains and Crossing Seas. Chapter 73, Carrying Mountains and Crossing Seas. Of course, Han Chang was only a 7-star Do Zong right now, and naturally he couldn't do something as simple and brutal as Xiao Zhan when suppressing the backlash of the heavenly flame. However, he also had his own advantages, which were his deep control over the heavenly flame and its deeper level utilization. Secondly, there was the close connection between him and the Green Lotus Core Flame, as well as his experience of dying while fusing with the Green Lotus Core Flame. Lastly, he had a deep understanding of the essence of the Sea Heart Flame, making it exceptionally handy to manipulate. Even though he hadn't refined it yet, manipulating it was already almost no different from Yao Lao manipulating the bone-chilling flame. An even more important point was that Han Chang had a crazy idea, and before realizing that idea, he needed to use the Sea Heart Flame for preliminary verification. If it succeeded, he could even forcefully step into the Dodi realm without needing to enter the ancient Emperor Cave. It was simply because Han Chang firmly believed that brute force breaks all rules, and overwhelming strength creates miracles. If that idea of his could be successfully realized, the power he would obtain would far exceed the Dodi realm, and even surpass that so-called Dominator realm. The Green Lotus Core Flame was essentially a volcano. The Sea Heart Flame was essentially a vast ocean. Due to the miraculous power of heaven and earth, which integrated the principles of the universe, they were turned into their current appearance, looking like only a tiny speck. In the mythological stories of my past life, those top-tier supreme deities could exhaust the extremes of heaven and earth with a flick of their hands, possessing the power to carry mountains and cross seas. Right now, the Green Lotus Core Flame has become a part of my body, and the Green Lotus Core Flame can be said to be my physical body. Then, can I turn the Sea Heart Flame into my dantian? A dantian like a vast ocean that can contain boundless heaven and earth energy. No, why should I restrict myself to the dantian? I only need to make the Green Lotus Core Flame, which is now completely fused with me, the main body, completely devour the energy of the Sea Heart Flame, and turn the shell of the Sea Heart Flame into my blood vessels, meridians, and even internal organs. Wouldn't that work? Come on, let's try it first. At worst, I'll just die once. Relying on his lack of fear of death, Han Chang directly began to verify his own idea. Only, much to Han Chang's surprise, this time unexpectedly. The strong ranking tournament had ended. After the top 10 contestants of the rankings completed the Origin Heart Flame tempering, the lively inner academy fell into peace once again. But, almost all the students and elders came to know a remarkably talented freshman, Xiao Yan. With only the cultivation of a 1-star Doling, he was actually able to briefly contend against a 9-star Doling and defeat a 7-star Doling. Although he was only 7th in the strong ranking tournament, he was no longer a nobody. What was even more surprising was that girl by Xiao Yan's side actually displayed the power of the Do Wong level. Although it was just a spar, Lu Qing, who was also a Do Wong, was almost beaten to death. There wasn't a single good spot on his entire body, and he was burned pitch black. Everyone was very curious, were the other 2 high-ranking members of Pangate stronger in strength than that Xiao Zuner? Could it be that the 2 of them were Do Huang experts? For a time, all kinds of speculations ran rampant, causing the 2 parties involved, Hu Jia and Wu Hao, to feel a burst of awkwardness. They didn't even know they were so powerful. Fortunately, everyone was just joking and knew this was impossible. Students at the Do Huang expert level were countable on one's fingers in Jiangnan Academy over so many years. Time slowly elapsed. After watching the excitement, everyone began to busy themselves with their own matters. In the outer academy, another inner academy selection tournament began. With 4 Dozong presiding over it, the entire process was extremely smooth. A new round of the fire energy hunting match began. The elders of Jiangnan Academy watched batch after batch of freshmen and veterans match with courage. Until this day, a group of experts riding flying magical beasts with decent combat capability and wearing uniform attire entered the inner academy. At the same time, Han Chang was flying while riding a successfully advanced black dragon. After the tier 6 black armored flood dragon beast advanced to tier 7, it evolved into a relatively pure flood dragon bloodline and already possessed some rudimentary flood dragon abilities. Innate abilities like summoning wind and rain, although after it used them, they could only affect a range of a few hundred miles, were already very remarkable progress. Because for magical beasts, 90% of their combat methods relied on their physical bodies and the divine abilities passed down within their bloodlines. Of course, most tier 7 magical beasts could already take human form, and they would also study cultivation methods and Do techniques to enhance their own strength. After the advancement, the black dragon's flying speed became even faster, much faster than flying magical beasts of the same level. It could be said to be among the fastest batch of tier 7 magical beasts. Aside from a fellow with extraordinary means like Han Chang, just right now. Sir, have you advanced to Dozun? Why do I feel like you are so heavy? Dozun, I'm not clear either. I don't even know what realm I'm considered to be in right now, but it shouldn't be worse than a Dozun. Deep cyan flames flashed in Han Chang's left eye, and sea blue flames flashed in his right eye as the mountain heavy aura on his body slowly converged. The black dragon felt that its back had become much lighter, and its flying speed unconsciously accelerated. Sorry, black dragon, I am not yet completely familiar with this power of mine right now, and I always unconsciously leak a portion of my aura. Sir, it doesn't matter. You can just take your time. Alright, let's head back first. Since you've successfully advanced, I can finally rest easy. Understood, sir. Sitting on the black dragon's back, Han Chang felt the power contained within his body and felt that he still needed to enter seclusion for a period of time. His previous hypothesis had been perfectly realized. The Green Lotus Core Flame and the Sea Heart Flame had perfectly fused into a part of his body. But this power was too strong. The current Han Chang was like a volcano, except that this volcano contained an endless sea. If not for his soul power breaking through to the heavenly realm, he wouldn't even have dared to walk out right now. Even so, a wisp of aura would still leak out when he breathed. Merely this wisp of aura weighed 10,000 jin. And this was only 100 millionth of the weight of a mountain in an ocean. It was truly normal beyond normal. Returning to the magical beast forest, Han Chang went back to that valley. The cave had already been accidentally shattered by him, so he could only slowly adjust his own state within the valley. Anyway, having reached his realm, the weather within a radius of 1,000 miles had to follow his will, and there was no need to worry about rain or snow. The black dragon lay outside the valley to stand guard. Although no blind fools dared to come over within this area, this was still a duty that it, as a servant, needed to uphold. Miss Xian, you have come. A purple figure flew over, and the black dragon respectfully lowered its head. Hey Big Black, that's great, you've successfully advanced, and finally someone can play with me. Seeing the black dragon's figure, Xian jumped up with joy. However, this time she still had proper business, to help the old man deliver a message to Big Brother. Chapter 74, Ling Quan. Chapter 74, Ling Quan. Why would the Great Elder call me at a time like this? Han Chang felt somewhat puzzled, but after thinking it over, he still sent a clone back. Now that his soul power had reached the heavenly realm, the strength of his divine fire clone already possessed 70% of his original body's normal strength, making him a match for even a typical one-star Dozun. As for his original body, it was better for him not to return to the academy just yet. He was afraid he might accidentally tear the academy apart. Above the inner academy, a cyan lotus and a blue Nekomata chased each other, quickly pinpointed their location, and dove straight down. Han Chang's figure appeared amidst the intertwining of the two little fellows. He looked at the 10 figures riding combat flying magical beasts, Xiao Zuner with her doji wings, Xiao Yan with a terrifyingly angry expression, and the calm-faced Great Elder, and he seemed to understand something. Arriving beside the Great Elder, Han Chang asked with a smile, Great Elder, did you call for me? It's them. The Great Elder looked at the increasingly powerful aura on Han Chang and nodded in satisfaction. It seemed this kid had gained quite a lot from his closed-door training during this period. Oh, Han Chang turned his head, narrowed his eyes, and took a look. People from the Jiyu clan. Yes, I am Ling Quan, Deputy Commander of the Black Annihilation Army. By order of Lord Zuzong, I have come to pay my respects to Mr. Han. Without a trace of arrogance, Ling Quan only vaguely sensed a trace of Han Chang's aura and respectfully lowered his head. This is a gift from Lord Zuzong to Mr. Han. Please accept it, Mr. Han. Xiao Yan on the side was completely speechless. Damn it, he hadn't been acting like that just a moment ago. With a movement of Han Chang's mind, he took the storage ring from Ling Quan's hand and smiled slightly. Senior Jiyu is truly courteous. Sorry to trouble you, please pass along my thanks to him. After this all-continent alchemist convention, I will visit the Jiyu clan with gifts. Yes, Mr. Han, we have intruded. Looking at Han Chang's youthful appearance and that flash of terrifying soul power, Ling Quan felt a bit of regret in his heart. Had he known earlier, he would have just let those fellows come this time. Goodbye, Junior Sister Zuner. Great Elder, Senior, Brother Xiao Yan, goodbye. Xiao Zuner, also known as Jiyu Zuner, left the inner academy with these people, returning to the home she had been away from for over a decade. It was just wondering which place she now considered home in her heart. Great Elder, if there's nothing else, I'll head back first. I'm just a clone right now, my original body is still in closed-door training. Han Chang turned to look at the Great Elder, waved to Xiao Yan on the side, and turned to leave. Go on, go on. The Great Elder smiled and let Han Chang return, then turned to look at Xiao Yan beside him, sighing helplessly. Little fellow, don't let that guy discourage you, or you'll really be playing right into his hands. Their clan is somewhat different from ordinary people, and they have unique advantages when it comes to cultivation. But when it comes to true cultivation talent, he might not necessarily surpass you. Thank you, Great Elder, but I'm almost used to it. Xiao Yan shook his head and smiled slightly. Now that I think about it, Senior Han Chang is a true freak. In front of Senior, even someone like that fades into the crowd. Hey, don't compare yourself to that kid. He might possess the most outstanding talent in the history of the fighting Chi continent. Even if a Dodi were alive today, they might not necessarily be stronger than him. The Great Elder first chuckled, then sighed with emotion. An 18-year-old grade 8 alchemist, could that possibly be compared to a normal person? Xiao Yan smiled somewhat bitterly, greeted the Great Elder, and turned to leave. Sigh, what a stubborn young man. The Great Elder shook his head helplessly. This unlucky child was already a Doling, yet he was still using the Huang tier cultivation method. When on earth would he ever break through to Do Wang? As for the matters of youth, let him figure them out themselves. I'd better quickly contact that old fellow, the headmaster. Han Chang is about to graduate and venture out onto the continent, so why is there no news from this old fogey at all? HMPH, when Han Chang returns from his travels across the continent, this old man will nominate him to be headmaster. Everyone shouldn't have any objections to that, and then we can kick that old fogey out. Having that old fogey around makes no difference anyway. Inside the valley, after the clone returned, Han Chang learned what had happened. It was also a high-grade storage ring, except this time the medicinal ingredients inside were quite a bit fewer, but the average quality had risen. They were all main ingredients needed for 8th grade pills. Hey, it seems the Jiyu clan truly doesn't have a 9th grade alchemist, otherwise their investment wouldn't be on such a scale. Han Chang became clear on his judgment, and then continued to work hard to master every fraction of his own power. If not for this power being too immense, even just 100 millionth of it, if Han Chang were the least bit careless, could beat a Do Huang expert half to death. I was careless this time, but my idea is completely correct. Once I obtain that thing, breaking through to Do Sheng will easily be possible by then. After that, I'll go all in with all my gold coins, even a 9-star Do Sheng won't be a problem, and I can finally marry the queen. Han Chang cleared his mind and continued to improve his degree of control over his own power. 3 months later, on the night of the full moon, within a radius of 1,000 miles around Jiangnan Academy, it was clearly cloudless, yet the moonlight disappeared for a full 3 minutes. All the moonlight condensed into a pristine pillar of light, enveloping a figure within it. Only the mid-heavenly realm, but it's enough. I can finally go see the queen. An excited voice came from within the pillar of light, causing 2 figures close to the pillar of light to raise their heads excitedly. Big brother. Sir, have you finished your closed-door training? Don't waste this moonlight essence. Hurry up and absorb it. I can't hold out much longer. As the 3 minutes passed, the pitch-black night sky regained its brightness once more. This bizarre scene caught the attention of quite a few experts, but upon seeing that the pillar of light was in that direction, they quieted down. That direction was, after all, that person's closed-door training ground. If anything happened, people like them wouldn't be able to help anyway. Sorry, teacher, Great Elder, to have made you worry. Han Chang brought Ziyan back to the inner academy, and as soon as he returned, he saw his teacher and the Great Elder waiting outside his courtyard. The two of them looked Han Chang up and down, then let out a sigh of relief. Right, while you were in closed-door training earlier, the two eldest Jian Bai successfully broke through to Dozun. Upon learning you were in seclusion, they didn't let me disturb you, but they asked me to pass along their thanks. That pill of yours helped them a lot. As the great elder spoke, he took out 2 jade slips. These are what the 2 elders asked me to hand to you. If you need anything, just call them. As long as it helped. It seems the ethereal Yuanzun pill I wanted to create can be promoted now, heh. Heh, you brat, that grade 5 Heavenly King pill formula alone has strengthened the Academy's foundation considerably. If there were 2 more such formulas, breaking through major realms on the fighting Chi continent would become much simpler. Fire Elder looked at his disciple, feeling increasingly satisfied in his heart. Creating grade 5 pill formulas and grade 7 pill formulas on his own, how many grade 8 grandmasters couldn't even do that? In their lineage, Han Chang was the absolute peak, and from now on, their lineage would be the heritage of grade 8 grandmasters. Chapter 75. Have you had enough? Let me also. Waking up from sleep, Han Chang felt refreshed and invigorated. Activating his divine fire clone, he brought Ziyan and the Black Dragon across more than 100,000 li to arrive at the Snake People tribe. Just as the sun was rising, Han Chang saw the delicate figure he had been yearning for day and night. Queen, I miss you so much. MN. The two tightly embraced each other, as if wanting to melt the other into their own body, and only slowly separated after a long while. Han Chang discovered that Medusa had changed, becoming different from before. Previously, the aura about her was the epitome of enchantment, every movement capable of captivating one's heartstrings. Now, a few fractions of a sacred, inviolable aura had been added to her body, making one feel inferior just by looking at her. This starkly contrasting feeling converged perfectly upon Medusa's body, making Han Chang almost unable to resist exploring the secrets on her body. Yet in Medusa's eyes, the aura on Han Chang's body had changed even more drastically. Not only had he grown taller and more handsome, but the aura about him had also become much heavier and steadier, making one subconsciously want to lean by his side. It seemed as long as one was by his side, even if it were the end of the world, one's heart would not panic. Big brother, you should have hugged enough by now, I want to hug Queen Sister too. Watching these two people embrace for so long, Ziyan anxiously rushed into Medusa's embrace. Medusa caught this last Ziyan in one go, casting an amused glance at Han Chang. Han Chang smiled helplessly, wrapping his arm around the queen's waist as they walked into the palace. Time really passes quickly, in the blink of an eye, it has been over a year. Han Chang sighed with emotion, the more one cultivated, the more one felt that time was worthless. Quote. The queen speechlessly shook her head, pinched Ziyan's small nose, and said, indeed, a little younger brother like you at 18 has grown up, while an old granny like me nearing 100 years old has grown old. Ah, then I can't even remember how many hundreds of years old I am, aren't you all going to call me Granny Ziyan? Thud. Hee, letting you lack manners, got hit, right. Han Chang watched as Ziyan was tapped on the head by the queen, saying with amusement. HMPH, you are the one lacking manners, of us all you are the youngest, don't you have any sense in your heart? The queen tapped Han Chang's head with her slender, delicate finger, her tone soft and sweet. Han Chang didn't know whether to laugh or cry, could it be that women in any world were so sensitive about age? No, in my heart you will both forever be the youngest. Han Chang could only beg for mercy. Then big brother, in your heart, who is younger between me and sister? Ziyan's big eyes shifted as she continued to pursue the question. What do you think? Of course, you, this younger sister, are smaller. Han Chang smiled and stroked Ziyan's head, this last was truly sensible, directly giving the answer out. Quote. After exchanging a few casual words, they began discussing their plans for the next steps. The reputation of Jinden Tower has already been initially established, next I plan to change the business scope of Jinden Tower. Han Chang took out a piece of paper and a pen, writing and drawing on it, while the queen and Ziyan both stretched out their heads, listening attentively to Han Chang's narration. As for me now, I have a 30% grasp at refining a 9th grade pill, and on this vast fighting Chi continent, I already have the capital to gain a foothold. However, I yearn more for freedom and like being unhindered, so Jinden Tower will be a neutral-natured faction and will not explicitly join any side's alliance. Of course, this is also because I have confidence in the talent of the few of us, although there are few of us, it is enough to sway the continent's situation and become a major overlord. Han Chang calculated the people around him, the bloodline of the 7-colored sky-swallowing python could inherently reach Dosheng directly, let alone that the queen now mastered the cultivation method of devouring moonlight essence, her speed in becoming a Dosheng would be even faster, and her bloodline might even surpass the 9-colored sky-swallowing python. Needless to say about Ziyan, as the biological daughter of the void ancient dragon emperor, that bloodline breaking through to Dosheng was practically a certainty. As for the black dragon, once he refined the remaining 2 pills, it would transform into a true dragon bloodline. Although this kind of true dragon was eaten by those powerhouses in mythological worlds, on the fighting Chi continent, and even in the Great Thousand World, it was still a top-tier bloodline, and achieving Dosheng was not a problem either. Coupled with him, this cheater, who could also refine pills to accelerate the growth of the few of them. Not to mention the void ancient dragon clan behind Ziyan, just the 4 Doshengs would not need to fear anyone. Therefore, the purpose of establishing Jinden Tower is to gather cultivation resources for us. Now the queen has broken through to Dozun, I am also a Dozun, the black dragon has successfully advanced to tier 7, and in another year or 2, Ziyan can also advance to tier 7, so cultivation resources below tier 7 are not very important to us. The operational model of Jinden Tower needs to be changed, my initial thoughts are like this. After the second time, Jinden Tower will open once every 5 years, remaining open for half a year each time. However, within this half year, the first month is for those who come seeking pills. If you want to refine a tier 7 pill, you need to prepare 3 portions of medicinal herbs. If it is an obscure pill, you also need to prepare the medicinal formula. In addition, those seeking pills also need to prepare 40 million gold coins or equivalent items as remuneration for my action. The same goes for an 8th grade pill, except the remuneration must be 70 million gold coins or equivalent items. The same goes for a 9th grade pill, but it requires the pill seeker to be responsible for resisting the lightning tribulation, and the remuneration is 100 million gold coins or equivalent items. The remaining 5 months will be the time to refine the pills they need. Currently my thoughts are like this, what do you think? Han Chang wrote his thoughts on paper and raised his head, only to find that the queen's pair of beautiful eyes had already gone blank, her rosy lips gently parted, making one subconsciously want to take a bite and taste what flavor it was. Ziyan's pair of big eyes had already turned into monetary symbols, giggling foolishly with a chuckle, while muttering in her mouth, just how much money would this be, it's all ours, hee. Thud. Ow, it doesn't hurt, could it be that I'm dreaming? Ziyan perplexedly turned her head, discovering that Han Chang and the queen were smilingly watching her. Has the dreamer woken up yet? Hee, awake, big brother, can someone actually come to the door like this? Ziyan wiped the saliva from the corner of her mouth and asked curiously. No, it might be bustling with activity. If an alchemist wants to do business, especially with high-grade pills, as long as the set price isn't too outrageous, that threshold will definitely be trampled flat. Back then, the Snake People tribe invited a 6th-rank alchemist to refine a 6th-rank pill for this king, and it cost the Snake People tribe half of their foundation. Although this king is not clear how prosperous Central Plains is, a 9th-grade alchemist should also be frantically pursued by people, right? Hee, what the queen says is correct. As far as I know, a grade 8 alchemist is also a rare as phoenix feather's existence in Central Plains. A 9th-grade alchemist can be counted on one hand on the Fighting Chi continent. Han Cheng's tone was filled with confidence. After perfectly integrating the Sea Heart Flame and Green Lotus Core Flame into his body this time, the benefits he gained were simply too many. Chapter 76, 9th grade. Refining 8th grade pills was no longer a difficult task for Han Cheng. Unfortunately, given his current soul power, his confidence in refining 9th grade treasure pills, the lowest tier of 9th grade pills, wasn't very high. This was because he still had too few opportunities to personally refine high-grade pills, leading to some lack of experience and insufficient confidence. However, this was also one of his purposes for changing Jinden Tower's business model. Wow, if you put it that way, wouldn't I be able to eat one pill and throw away another in the future? Ziyan said with some excitement, already beginning to imagine the scene of herself soaking in a pile of pills. Han Cheng and the queen exchanged a glance and smiled knowingly. However, as the queen just mentioned, Jinden Tower will definitely attract a lot of attention in the future. If it remains completely closed for the remaining 4.5 years, it would be a bit of a waste. Han Cheng rubbed his chin, naturally knowing that traffic meant business opportunities. How about letting the Snake People tribe do business inside Jinden Tower? The queen fell silent for a moment. She was very moved by Han Cheng's idea to lift up the Snake People tribe, but as the queen of the Snake People tribe, she understood that her people simply weren't cut out for doing business. Cheng, do you think the Snake People tribe has anything presentable to offer? Han Cheng blinked, thought for a moment, and said, well, the Snake People tribe has good physical constitutions and can serve as guards. After all, the grades of the items routinely sold in Jinden Tower won't be too high. The Snake People tribe possesses strength comparable to magical beasts, so they have a significant advantage in doing such frontline work. That actually sounds like a good idea. Cheng, you're so smart. The queen's eyes lit up. With Han Cheng's will backing it, almost no one would intentionally target Jinden Tower. Being a guard would only mean dealing with some brainless petty thieves, so the danger level would be low. For the Snake People tribe, they only needed to provide some manpower in exchange for huge benefits. This was practically a business with zero capital investment. The more the queen thought about it, the more excited she became. She walked into Han Cheng's embrace, wrapped her arms around his neck, and kissed him. Who? Unfortunately, with that girl Ziyan around, Han Cheng licked his lips and muttered to himself, no wonder the honey trap was universally effective across the myriad realms, who could possibly withstand this? Cheng, thank you. The queen's lingering gaze made Han Cheng feel like he was floating on air. He smiled, shook his head, and said, who told the Snake People tribe to have a queen like you? You mean I alone am more important than the entire Snake People tribe? Of course, is there something wrong with that? Mwah, asterisk. Smooth talker tilde hee, the queen leaned against Han Cheng, smiling sweetly. A few minutes later, Washier received Her Majesty the Queen's command and sent a message to the upper echelons of the Snake People tribe. Meanwhile, hand in hand with the Queen and Ziyan, Han Cheng boarded the Black Flood Dragon and headed towards the capital of the Jama Empire. Ever since that drastic change a year ago, the situation in the Jama Empire had become exceptionally delicate. The behemoth known as the Cloud Mist sect had reigned in all its sharpness, seeming to have lost interest in the Jama Empire. Instead, it was maintaining increasingly close ties with all the other factions apart from the Imperial family. The isolated Imperial family was in a very interesting state right now, both happy and worried. What made them happy was that they didn't need to worry about their throne being stolen, because those people probably looked down on it. What worried them was that those powerful factions simply didn't take the Imperial family seriously. Last time, those fellows had placed their bets correctly and latched onto an extremely massive thigh that would only continue to grow larger in the future. Their future would certainly not be confined to this tiny Jama Empire. It was just that for this wonderful future, the Imperial family basically had no hope. Whether the Imperial family could continue to exist in the future depended entirely on the will of that gentleman. Sigh, with 3 Dozong experts making a move, who could have expected that person to actually? Josh Xingtian felt a wave of regret in his heart. Those were 3 Dozong experts. What use would a single Do Huang expert like him be if he went up there? Wouldn't that just be throwing his life away for nothing? He was the Imperial family's only Do Huang expert. If he died, wouldn't that be equivalent to the Imperial family being finished? Tell me, could he be blamed for being cowardly? 3 Dozong experts, such power could easily subvert the Jama Empire. What was wrong with him not making a move to preserve himself? Wasn't that just human nature? Josh Xingtian continuously defended himself in his heart, hoping that person could also understand his situation and let the Imperial family off the hook. But he was also very clear that his thoughts were somewhat unrealistic. Because in the world of adults, no one would put themselves in another's shoes or empathize with them, everyone only looked at interests and facts. Until this very day, the heart that Josh Xingtian had kept hanging finally died. Crack, asterisk. The space above the Imperial capital was abruptly torn apart, and a 100-John-long black flood dragon flew out from the spatial tunnel. This unmasked commotion instantly alarmed the numerous experts within the city. When they flew up and looked overhead, all they saw was a terrifying aura capable of freezing space and a spatial tunnel that was slowly closing. Queen Medusa. She has broken through to Dozun. Look quickly, there seems to be someone else beside Queen Medusa. Phew, that's good, that's good. Everyone doesn't need to be nervous, it turns out Mr. Han is back. For a moment, the hearts of the various experts in the Jama Empire that had jumped to their throats returned to their stomachs. A quarter of an hour later, within the Alchemist Guild, apart from the Imperial family and the Mu family, all the other experts had gathered here. Everyone, this is just my preliminary conception of Jinden Tower. As for how to specifically go about it or if there are any issues, everyone can speak freely, and we'll resolve them one by one. Han Cheng laid out the draft of his conception for Jinden Tower, and he was prepared to let those worthy of his guidance share a piece of the pie together. With the scale of the Cloud Mist sect in the middle family, how many benefits could they swallow on their own? Could the combined income of the major factions in the Jama Empire afford a single 8th grade pill? Little friend Han, this old man dares to ask, you just said that Jinden Tower accepts commissions to refine 9th grade pills, does that mean you are currently a 9th grade alchemist? Fa Ma asked tremblingly, his aged body looking exceptionally excited. As soon as these words were spoken, 5-star General MacArthur far away in America. Cough, cough. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone present cast their gazes unanimously toward Han Cheng, their eyes burning with fiery anticipation for his answer. Seeing this, Han Chang smiled faintly and shook his head. My soul power has reached the standard for refining 9th grade pills, but because I haven't actually tried refining one myself, my confidence doesn't exceed 30%. Hiss, asterisk. A chorus of cold breaths being drawn in sounded. If his soul power was enough, then that was it. It was just a matter of practicing his hands. How could that not count? A 9th grade alchemist. That was a noble existence capable of standing shoulder to shoulder with the true rulers of the fighting Qi continent, Dosheng experts. Moreover, due to their sheer rarity, the status of a 9th grade alchemist might even be more noble than that of a Dosheng expert. Everyone, don't dwell on such a minor matter. Let's continue discussing the details of our Jinden Tower. Han Chang smiled faintly, signaling everyone to go on. Oh, that's right. Since I basically won't personally refine pills below tier 7, we will need to invite some alchemists below tier 7 to join. As a bonus incentive, I will write down some of my experience for those well-performing alchemists to study. Chapter 77 Graduation. Faced with interests so unimaginably vast, everyone acted exceptionally gentle and accommodating, lacking the infighting one might have imagined. All because, with a 9th grade alchemist and a Dozun expert as their pillars, they were full of confidence. With such a backing, they would even be willing to sell tea inside Jinden Tower. However, Han Chang still tried his best to maintain fairness and impartiality, without overtly favoring any single party, dividing the spoils strictly according to each side's contributions. Furthermore, as internal members of Jinden Tower, corresponding internal points would be issued based on the benefits everyone brought to Jinden Tower. Using these points to purchase their own items would yield prices equivalent to the cost price. More importantly, if these points accumulated enough, 8th grade pills and 9th grade pills could also be redeemed, provided that one accumulated enough points. Han Chang merely established the general direction. As for the specific details, he left it to these people in the upper echelons of the Snake People tribe to discuss together. He believed neither side would suffer a loss. After all, the Snake People tribe had Queen Medusa, this side also had Han Chang's sister Yafei, and at the same time, the Cloud Mist sect possessed a Dozong. Han Chang believed this would be a win-win situation. As for the royal family, hey, everyone tacitly refrained from mentioning this buzzkill. Such a huge cake, Mr. Han letting them divide it meant he thought highly of them, and their mutual accommodation was giving face to Mr. Han. As for speaking up for the royal family, sorry, but your face, Jia Xingtian, is not enough. This is the thigh of a 9th grade alchemist, your little worldly sophistication doesn't even count as scraps. Half a month later, both sides held their final meeting. Accommodation, that's what was said, but once cooperation was truly implemented, every aspect, big and small, had to be considered. Before cooperating, all kinds of matters were made clear, lest the metal account get tangled up during future bickering. First the villain, then the gentleman. When setting the rules, everyone refused to yield an inch and argued strongly on grounds of reason. Afterwards the gentleman. Once cooperation began, everyone was family, and no one could hold back the others, otherwise everyone would gang up on them. Everyone understood these principles. After all, they were the helmsmen of various factions, or at least high-ranking members, and understood many things. But what are you 4 old leaks from the Snake People tribe coming out for? The 8 chieftains of your Snake People tribe don't even pay much attention to you. What did you come here for? Why didn't those 4 damned old undying fellows continue waiting to die? The queen's tone was icy, clearly harboring deep aversion toward those 4 elders. Matters of the Snake People tribe are for you, queen, to manage yourself. I will not interfere. Han Chang tucked the hair by the queen's ear behind it. Although he didn't know what was actually going on, whatever the queen did was always right. As for reason. Hey, shall I lecture you on physics instead? Thank you, Chang. The queen kissed Han Chang's cheek, pressed her face against Han Chang's chest, closed her eyes, and felt this aura that warmed her. The Black Corner region, a chaotic zone famous across the vast fighting Qi continent, was also one of the most well-informed places on the continent. 2 years wasn't long to say, nor was it short, it passed in the blink of an eye. Another batch of students graduated from Jiannan Academy. Logically speaking, this was the most ordinary thing. It was just that this year's graduation ceremony was exceptional. Even among these graduates, there were students who were Dowang experts, yet before that person, they were completely eclipsed. He was the most outstanding student in the history of Jiannan Academy, the one who contributed the most to Jiannan Academy, the sole candidate for the next headmaster of Jiannan Academy jointly elected by the elders of Jiannan Academy, an 18-year-old Dozong, and furthermore, a distinguished grade 8 alchemist, student Han Chang. Respected elders, fellow students, junior schoolmates, hello. Roar 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 roar. A wave of fanatical cheering erupted among the seats of the inner academy students. Who knew how many people wanted the senior to know that someone like them existed? When in the academy, he was a senior. Cursing him behind his back was completely fine, or even cursing him to his face, and he would only smile slightly and brush it off. At worst, he would just beat you up, and nothing else would happen afterwards. But once out of the academy, he was a giant who dictated the rise and fall of a region on the continent, a noble existence that even Dozun experts had to fawn over. With a mere word, he could annihilate a first-rate faction anchored by a Dozong, let alone a little grasshopper like you who wasn't even a Dowang. To achieve what I have today, I must first thank Jiannan Academy. Thank. Han Chang reeled off a long list of names of Jiannan Academy elders. Although their relationships varied in closeness, these elders were still extremely excited when they heard Han Chang call out their names. After all, this was a grade 8 alchemist. Being remembered by a grade 8 alchemist was already an immensely huge honor. As expected, I said that previous vote wasn't cast in vain. This student should definitely become our Jiannan Academy's future headmaster. The elders shared shockingly unanimous thoughts in their hearts. Meng Tianqi, what kind of person was that? Why didn't they recognize him? Finally, please pay attention to the news of Jinden Tower a month from now. That is the faction I established. Students and elders of Jiannan Academy will all receive a 10% discount. At the end of his speech, Han Chang made a plug, making quite a few people curious. Could Jinden Tower be making another big move? After stepping down from the podium, Han Chang was surrounded by Lin Shuya, Lu Qing, and a few others. Reveal a little to us in advance, won't you? Does Jinden Tower have some major move in store? Exactly, tell us, huh? Han Chang shook his head with a smiling expression. This is a secret. Unless you are willing to give me a large sum of money, I can only tell you secretly. Hey, forget it, I suddenly feel like I'm not in a rush anymore. Lin Shuya twitched the corners of his mouth and shook his head. I will be staying in the academy for a period of time next, so I'm not in a rush. Me too. Same for us, ha ha ha. Sigh, you guys are truly more shrewd than the last. Han Chang let out a faint sigh of disappointment, but in his heart, he was thinking, when Jinden Tower's major move was unveiled a month later, they would definitely be very surprised, right? Returning to his seat, the first elder began to speak on the academy's parting words for the graduates, as well as blessings for the current students. Fire Elder asked curiously, what kind of trick are you pulling, brat? Reveal a bit to your teacher, won't you? Ever since he got such an outstanding disciple, the originally stern fire elder frequently had a smile on his face nowadays. Han Cheng smiled and shook his head. He had to treat everyone equally. Hee, teacher, actually this can be considered a surprise from your student. If you knew in advance, it wouldn't be interesting. A surprise? What kind of surprise could it be? Could it be that you brat broke through to Dozun? Fire elder shook his head, speaking haphazardly with his mouth, but his eyes closely watched the changes in Han Cheng's expression, trying to verify his guess from the side. However, Han Cheng's face maintained that smiling expression all along, making it impossible for anyone to see through his thoughts. Teacher, you can rest assured, it will definitely be a surprise. Chapter 78, Reform.